Chapter 1513. My head hurts. In the dark environment, Jun Changxiao stood up with difficulty, holding his head with one hand and his waist with the other, with a slightly painful expression on his face. The feeling of the demonic energy entering his body just now was too sour. Even if it had disappeared now, he still had an endless aftertaste. Patriarch. Yao Minjing rubbed her head and said, "Where is this place?" The camera zoomed out and found that the two were on a red land, and the surrounding vegetation was also red, looking a little scary. Hearing that the girl spoke normally, Jun Changxiao breathed a sigh of relief. Then he looked at the environment seriously, and then said puzzledly, "Netherworld? 9 nether yellow springs?" In the distant sky, there were streams of light lingering, and the space seemed to be superimposed, giving people a feeling that it was not a world inhabited by living creatures. If I'm not wrong, a middle-aged man with a calmer face guessed, "This should be the demonic territory that was sealed by the 10 immortal sects and the major clans." Who is this? One of the 9 possessors of the Khanate demon body. In other words, at the moment beside Jun Changxiao was not only Yao Minjing, but also the other 8 who were transmitted in at the same time. Because they did not know their names, the men would be temporarily introduced as male number 1 and male number 2, and the women as female number 1 and female number 2. Demonic territory? Jun Changxiao was stunned. Wasn't that place sealed in the West Sea? How did he get in so carelessly? Carelessly and delicately, including Yao Minjing. They all came in through the formal procedures, but Gou Sheng came in just to make up the numbers. According to the normal plot, he should not appear here. There was no choice. Cheats were often special existences that jumped out of the 3 realms, and not in the 5 elements. Male number 1 said, "Although it has been sealed for 100,000 years, there are records in the ancient books. So combined with the current geographical environment, I can be sure that this must be the demonic territory. Since it is the demonic territory, why is the demonic energy so withered?" Male number 2 spoke. Judging from his appearance, he was at least 60 or 70 years old. Needless to say, female number 1 walked over, flicked her black hair, and said, "It must be because the demon ancestor fell and was sealed for a long time." This woman's voice was very charming, and she looked exotic. She could be considered a first-class beauty. Jun Changxiao subconsciously looked over, not because he was admiring their beauty, but because he suddenly realized that the auras of these 8 people were all demonic cultivators, and he was the only one who was a conventional martial cultivator. The current situation was that a dog had mixed in with the sheep. Of course, the 8 innate devil body heirs were also puzzled. They were all devil cultivators, so how could they mix in with a conventional martial cultivator? Last, Jun Changxiao said, "Let's go. Let's first assume that this was the demonic region. Since he was already here, he should search the area thoroughly. Perhaps there might be some sort of fortuitous encounter waiting for his disciple to inherit." The 8 Khanate fiend body heirs also began to move. However, they very consciously separated, obviously planning to act alone. At least if they found something good, it would belong to them. "Everyone," Jun Changxiao shouted, "let me give you a piece of advice. If this is the demonic region, there may be many unknown mechanisms and traps, so it's best to move together, lest you lose your lives here and become wandering ghosts." TSK. Number 3 snorted coldly and continued to move forward. The others didn't take Jun Changxiao's words seriously and insisted on acting alone. Soon they went in different directions. Gou Sheng shook his head and said, "Are all devil cultivators very proud and aloof?" Patriarch. Yao Minjing said, "This place seems very big. Where are we going?" After confirming that the 8 devil cultivators had left, Jun Changxiao took out the treasure detector and said with a smile, "Of course, to the place where the good stuff is hidden." Why did this guy suggest to set off in a group just now? The main reason was that the Khanate fiend body heirs were quite strong. Most of them were at the 4th, 5th, and 6th transformation level. If he could establish a revolutionary friendship along the way, he might be able to pull them into the sect to accompany the last. Since they didn't want to follow, he could only enjoy all the good stuff alone. Buzz. Spiritual sense entered and activated the treasure. However, When the light on the compass began to flicker and gradually stabilized, there was no prompt. Jun Changshao broke down and said, "No way, there's nothing here?" The system said, "After all, the treasure detector was bought from the lower realm. It might not be effective in the upper realm, so hurry up and replace it." Get lost. Jun Changshao rolled his eyes. Although the treasure detector was useless, it didn't hinder him from moving forward. Thus, he closed his eyes and counted in his heart. His right finger waved until it stopped, and he said, "Last, let's go this way." The system was speechless. Choose the path according to fate, pay attention. Swoosh, Jun Changshao jumped up, and his body fell straight back down. Swoosh, swoosh. He jumped a few more times and landed awkwardly. Pfft. Yao Minjing couldn't help but cover her mouth. Jun Changshao broke down. The heavenly axiom system here is far inferior to the upper realm. Why can't we fly? The system said, because there's some kind of restriction that restricts flight. Okay. Jun Changshao shook his head and said, "Lass, bring out the rainbow wings." Okay. Yao Minjing hurriedly shook her shoulders, and 2 pairs of colorful wings appeared. Then, she flapped them and gradually broke away from the shackles of the earth. "Patriarch, we can fly," Jun Changshao said proudly. Although the restriction here can prohibit martial artists from flying, how can it prohibit goods that transcend the restrictions of heaven and earth? At this moment, he was no longer shouting about being independent and wanting to break away from the city. Swoosh! The rainbow wings spread out and flew up. Whoosh! Whoosh! The 2 turned into streamers and soared in the sky. Coincidentally, they took the same route as man number 3. Suddenly, the man was stunned and his eyes flashed with disbelief. He said, "How can these 2 people fly?" The area Jun Changshao and Yao Minjing were in was a red grassland. It took them a full hour to fly out of the grassland. They were flying over a vast primitive forest. They had seen a lot of forests. However, this place was a little different, because there was a stone tower with complicated patterns engraved on it every once in a while. "Patriarch," Yao Minjing said, "what is this stone tower used for?" "From the looks of it, it's similar to a signal base station. Maybe it's used to transmit messages," Jun Changshao guessed. The system said, "Why don't you say it's a 5G base station?" "Patriarch," Yao Minjing pointed ahead and said, "There seems to be a city there." Jun Changshao looked up and found that at the end of his field of vision, the outline of a city that seemed to be embedded in the mountains and rivers gradually appeared. From afar, it looked like a tiger sitting on the ground. It doesn't look like a human's architectural style. Could it be, this is really the demonic region? As they spoke, the 2 sped up and soon stopped in the sky above the city, that was completely made of stone. Whether it was the city walls, the city gates, or the internal buildings, they were indeed of a human style. "Patriarch," Yao Minjing said, "there's no one in the city." The city was not small, but there was no one on the streets. Because of the atmosphere, it felt like a ghost city in a horror movie. That's strange. Jun Changshao was puzzled. This place doesn't seem to have been damaged by external forces. Why can't I see a single living thing? It's not just that. The system said, there were no animals in the primitive forest that the host just passed. Are they all dead? At this moment, Jun Changshao's expression gradually stiffened, because his spiritual senses had spread to a place that looked like a military camp outside the city. On the drill ground stood stone statues in armor, and holding sharp blades. There were not many of them, but there were at least tens of thousands of them. Outside at the altar, although the great guardian was depressed for a long time, a smile gradually appeared on his face. He said, after breaking the seal and entering this time, the demonic army of 1,000,000 will definitely see the light of day again. When that time comes, our ancestor will wave his arm, and the entire upper realm will tremble. Chapter 15:14. On the drill ground outside the city, Yao Minjing opened her small mouth, her eyes filled with shock. In front of her, lifelike statues were neatly arranged. They were wearing armor and holding spears. Even the smallest details were outlined. They were no different from real people. The most shocking thing was that these statues had single eyelids and double eyelids. Some were tall and some were short. They all had different appearances, which meant that they were not carved from the same mold. Patriarch, Yao Minjing said in surprise. These statues are so lifelike. Jun Changshao walked out from the group of soldiers and shook his head. These are not statues. These are real living beings. He did not use humans to describe them. Although the soldiers had noses and eyes and had human features, from the height of 2 to 3 meters, they might be Moang soldiers. Real living beings? Yao Minjing said. Patriarch, what do you mean? Jun Changshao sat on a similar platform and interlocked his fingers. If I'm not wrong, these living beings should have been sealed by some kind of power, which is why they are in a state of absolute petrification. No wonder they are different. Yao Minjing said in realization. So they are all real people. From their standing posture, they should have undergone strict training. I wonder how strong they were before they were petrified. Jun Changshao said. Patriarch, Yao Minjing said. What is this? Jun Changshao turned around and saw the girl standing on the platform with one hand on the wall, engraved with a handprint. He hurriedly said, Don't touch it. It was too late. Yao Minjing had already put her hand on it. Buzz. The moment her palm touched the handprint, a visible energy ripple spread out from the drill ground and swept across the thousands of statues. Crack, crack. Crack, crack, crack. There was a cracking sound. Girl. Jun Changshao hurriedly stood up and said with a serious face, Come over here quickly. Yao Minjing hurriedly retreated and leaned behind the patriarch. She lowered her head like a child who had done something wrong. Patriarch, did I trigger some kind of trap? Of course. Jun Changshao was speechless. It must have been triggered. If it were rows of flowers, Go Sheng would have probably roared at her. Of course, the former had been fighting everywhere and had seen all kinds of situations. Naturally, she would not make such a low-level mistake. Ka-ka, ka-ka-ka. Cracks began to appear on the tens of thousands of statues, and then large chunks of them fell off. Jun Changsha's guess was correct. These soldiers had indeed been sealed, because after the stones fell off, real armor was revealed. Who? Breathe in and out. Patriarch. Yao Minjing exclaimed. They're still alive. Jun Changshao did not speak. He had already entered a state of absolute vigilance. Shwa. At this moment, the 10,000 soldiers who had broken free from the petrification power opened their eyes in unison. Their eyes flickered with a crimson light, and an extremely sinister demonic aura surged around them. It was as if a group of demons had awakened from hell. After a quick analysis, the system exclaimed, They are all first transition. Jun Changsha's eyes widened. 10,000 soldiers, all had the strength of a first revolution revolving core realm cultivator. This was simply too shocking. Go Sheng had always fantasized that if all his disciples were at the core transformation realm, the scene would be as beautiful as a painting. Now that he had seen it for himself, and an entire army at that, just the aura alone was very shocking. Swish, swish, the demonic aura that emerged gradually separated, and then gathered on the chest armor of the soldiers. Gradually, the word demon was outlined, and it flickered with a gorgeous luster. It had the style of the logo of the prodigal eye. Undeniably, it was very cool. However, Jun Changshao did not think so. In his opinion, the visual effect was far inferior to his 1,000 Diablo. Kill! The 10,000 demonic soldiers shouted in a low and hoarse voice, and the crimson light in their eyes became more intense. As expected, Jun Changshao shook his head. Unfriendly. The battle intent of 10,000 first transition core transformation soldiers, in excellent equipment, was indeed intimidating. However, Jun Changshao was not afraid at all, because his strength was at the 7th transition. Lass. Jun Chang laughed and said, Stay away from me. I will take on these demonic tribe soldiers. Okay. Yao Minjing hurriedly retreated. Then the scene changed. She was wearing a cheerleading uniform and holding a colorful ball with both hands. Go Patriarch. System, come. Jun Changshao raised his hand, and the great sage Sect quickly gathered around him. He held the green dragon crescent blade in front of him and said, Let's fight to our heart's content. Under normal circumstances, the 7th transition would definitely be a one-round fight with his eyes closed. However, 10,000 First Transition Corps transformation soldiers were a little overwhelming, so Go Sheng had to give them enough respect. Be gentle, the system said. Don't damage the armor. Of course. Why did Jun Changshao want to fight? It was not because he had not fought for too long and wanted to stretch his body. It was also not because the author wanted to take the opportunity to make a scene. It was because he was interested in the soldiers' equipment. Although he already had the formula of the 8 desolate heavenly sound set, he could not mass-produce it because of the limited materials. If he could snatch these equipment and give it to Fan Yezi to modify, it should be able to increase his disciple's strength. At the beginning of the game, he had to rely on snatching equipment. Kill! Kill! The 10,000 demonic soldiers were still shouting in a low voice. The demonic aura around them was also increasing. From afar, it looked like a huge black cloud was covering the drill ground. Swoosh! Swoosh! Finally, they could not help but rush over with their sharp blades. Because of their physique and the weight of their armor, the whole ground shook. Jun Changshao sneered and waved his blade. A light ray swept across in an arc ding. The blade light, which carried the power of the true spirit, hit the breastplates of the soldiers at the front. Although they were sent flying, only faint marks were left on their bodies. The quality is not low, the system said. Jun Changshao's eyes shone with a burning light. He said, "They are all mine." Good armor was what his disciple needed the most. Therefore, he had to take them all today no matter what. In order to prevent the armor from being damaged, Jun Changshao kept his green dragon crescent blade and said excitedly, "I am going to take off the armor." Thud thud thud. He charged into the enemy with his bare hands. With the power of the true spirit in his fingers, he smoothly unlocked a soldier's armor and quickly kept it in his space ring. Taking off someone's armor in a fight. Probably only Go Sheng could do this. At the darkness altar, the great guardian said proudly, "The 1 million demonic army that was trained by my ancestor not only have rank 1 cultivation, but also have excellent demonic armor. As long as the seal is broken, and they appear in the upper realm, it will definitely shake the world." Sigh. The black-robed man shook his head and sighed. It is a pity that the demonic armor's manufacturing method is sealed in the demonic region. If our buried moon pavilion could get it in advance, we would have created a strong army to fight against the realm hall. When the 10 innate demonic bodies break the seal, we can enter the demonic region, at will, and easily find the manufacturing method. The great guardian said. That's right. The black-robed man clenched his fist and said, "I can't wait." Demonic region on the drill ground. 10,000 tall and burly soldiers were lying on the ground in a mess. They were all knocked out and only had thin underwear on them. It was obvious that their armor had been taken off by the shameless Go Sheng. Swoosh. Jun Changshao waved his hand and kept the weapons scattered on the ground into his space ring. He clapped his hands and said, "Let's go and take a look at other places. Maybe we can still find the sealed demonic soldiers." Swoosh. Swoosh. 2 rays of light streaked across the sky and went in a direction. As expected, about 2 hours later, Jun Changshao and Yao Minjing arrived at another city. There was also a military camp here, and there were also sealed demonic race soldiers. We are rich. Chapter 15:15. Swish. Jun Changshao and Yao Minjing flew away from the second city they discovered. The camera turned back and saw the tens of thousands of soldiers who had just been released from the sealed state. All of them had lost their armor and were lying unconscious on the ground with bruises all over their faces. In fact, they were quite lucky. Fortunately, Go Sheng did not have any equipment that could hold a large number of creatures. Otherwise, they would not only lose their equipment, but also themselves. Speaking of which, could the Tianyuan Prism Pagoda not be installed? It could be, but the space was limited. Therefore, after weighing the pros and cons, Jun Changshao decided to only take away the equipment and weapons. Of course, some people would be puzzled. The Moang tribe was tall and strong, and their armor was also very big. How could the disciples who were robbed wear it? This problem was not within the scope of Jun Changshao's consideration, because it was up to Fan Yezi. In short, the sect did not raise idle people. They had to play to their strengths. Patriarch. After flying for a while, Yao Minjing said excitedly, "There's another city in front. Let's go." The two sped up and soon stopped above the third city. In terms of scale, this city was obviously bigger than the previous two. There were many weapons on the city wall. It should be an important place in the Moang territory. TSK. Jun Changshao landed on the city wall. Looking at the cannon-like weapons, he said, "It looks like a field cannon. Take it. Take it all." Gosheng did not hesitate at all. He took the hundreds of weapons scattered around the city wall into his space ring. Then he looked outside the city and saw another military camp. "Wow," Yao Minjing said in surprise. "There are so many soldiers." The previous two cities had tens of thousands of soldiers in the military camp. This military camp had 50,000 soldiers. Jun Changshao grinned. To others, these Moang tribe soldiers were very dangerous. But to him, they were no different from treasures. Swish, swish. The two landed on the stage. There was still a special handprint on the wall behind, which meant that it could be activated by touching it. Strangely enough, in the barracks of the second city, Jun Changshao had raised his hand and pressed it, but it didn't have any effect. Later on, it was Yao Minjing who successfully revived them. The system guessed, "It should be because of the innate holy demon body." "Lass," Jun Changshao said, "go ahead and trigger it." "Yes." Yao Minjing walked over, but just as she was about to place her palm on it, Gosheng stopped her. "Wait a minute." "Hoo-hoo." Jun Changshao flew up and released his true spirit power, lifting up the petrified soldiers and sending them to the wilderness. With the previous two experiences, he could more or less determine that the soldiers here were definitely at the first transition level. If all of them were to be revived, he might not be able to handle them. Therefore, he had split up in advance and defeated them one by one. The system was speechless. "Why don't we just set up a formation to seal them off?" "That makes sense." Jun Changshao was suddenly inspired. He turned around and flew back. Then, he began to set up formation flags and set up a formation. In an instant, a light barrier was formed, sealing off the petrified soldiers. After working for half a day, the 50,000 soldiers in the barracks were all split up. "Lass," Jun Changshao shouted, "release the seal." "Pa." Yao Minjing pressed her palm on it, and ripple-like energy rippled again. Ka-ka-ka. Ka-ka-ka-ka. Their bodies cracked and rocks fell off. However, when the Moang soldiers regained their senses, they found themselves in the light barrier. Question marks appeared on their faces. "Where am I? What is this place?" "Everyone." Jun Changshao slowly appeared above the light like a creator and said, "You should be able to understand human language. So please throw away your weapons and take off your armor as soon as possible. Otherwise, I will come personally." The Moang soldiers naturally wouldn't listen to him obediently. They immediately released a strong demonic aura and raised their weapons. Not cooperating, Jun Changshao shook his head. "Then I will have to come personally." Boom! Boom! Not long after, the 10,000 soldiers all fainted on the ground. Their armor and weapons were all taken away. Jun Changshao went to other isolation arrays. Finally, he stood on top of the city tower and sang loudly, "We the people are so happy tonight." Yao Minjing covered her ears and blocked her hearing. He was so skillful that it made one's heart ache. Fortunately, the array successfully isolated the sound from the outside world. Otherwise, the tens of thousands of Moang soldiers lying inside would definitely be fatally injured, even if they were already unconscious. After obtaining another 50,000 sets of armor and weapons, Jun Changshao didn't leave the city immediately. This was because he found a foundry near the barracks. So he walked over curiously. Entering the huge factory, there were all kinds of foundry facilities. These should be used to produce equipment. Jun Changshao walked to a foundry and saw that the mold inside was very similar to the shape of the armor. So he confirmed his guess. The system said, "Such a big foundry is enough to show that the Moang tribe has an extremely high level of craftsmanship and great ambition." So, Jun Changshao spread his hands and said, "They were destroyed by the 10 major immortal sects and the various clans. The soldiers were powerful and well-equipped. If they went out to do something big, the various sects and forces would definitely not be able to handle it. Suddenly, Jun Changxiao realized that Yao Menjing and the other 8 possessors of the innate demon body were teleported to the Moang territory. Could it be a plan of the Buried Moon Pavilion to prepare for the resurrection of the Demon Lord? Very likely, the system said. After all, these well-equipped soldiers are too powerful. If they appear in the upper realm, it will definitely bring a great catastrophe. Haha, Jun Changxiao smiled and said, since I'm here, how can I let them do as they wish? Swish. He turned to look at the camera and stroked his black hair coquettishly. Please call me the little prince of trouble. Since he found the foundry and so many foundry facilities, with Jun Changxiao's style, he would definitely put them all into the space ring. Patriarch. Yao Menjing stood in a room that looked like an office and said, there are many books here. Oh, Jun Changxiao walked in. There were rows of bookshelves in the room, and many ancient books were placed on them. He casually took a book and opened it to read, but it was filled with messy words. This is the language of the Moang tribe, the system said. Jun Changxiao opened the technique pavilion and found that it could not be used to match, so he said with certainty, it's not martial arts. Nonsense. The system was speechless. The books in the foundry must be related to forging. Jun Changxiao flipped through a few more pages. Some of them were drawings of armors. Because he could not understand the words, he did not know what the remarks meant. The system said, this is the method to make armors. You can understand it. Of course, I can easily decipher any text in front of me. Awesome. Jun Changxiao kept all the books into the space ring. With the foundry table and the books on forging armors, he could place them in the sect and let Fan Yezi try to forge them. This way, there would be no need for retirement. Patriarch. Yao Menjing shouted. There are many blueprints on the table. Jun Changxiao leaned over with interest and found that there were drawings of different styles of armors, and there were remarks in the language of the Moang tribe on each part. What is this? From the literal translation, it should be the second generation of armors. What? Jun Changxiao was surprised. The Moang tribe is very good at researching equipment. Needless to say, he would definitely take it. On the foundry peak, after Fan Yezi finished the last batch of Diablo parts, he wiped the sweat off his forehead and panted. It's finally done. I can finally rest for a while. Chapter 15-16. It was hard to imagine that there would be a complete equipment production line, books, and blueprints in the sealed city of Moang region. Jun Changxiao sighed. The demon ancestor is a person who does great things. With a powerful army and equipment production, if he were to go out and cause trouble, the upper realm would definitely be the one to get hurt. Gosheng did not know much about the past, but after visiting several cities in Moang region, he suddenly realized that it was not unreasonable for the 10 great immortal sects to destroy this race. After all, it was too dangerous. What a pity. Jun Changxiao covered his face, leaned back, and laughed eerily. It's all mine. The system was powerless to complain. Every time he laughed like a villain, he could not change his bad habit. Let's go. Jun Changxiao said. Let's go to other places. There must be more good things waiting for me. Gosheng did not like the demon ancestor. After all, he had tried to take over Yao Menjing's body to be resurrected. So, since he had come to the other party's nest, he would take away as much as he could. And the worst thing was that when this guy left the military base, he did not remove the isolation formations that he had set up. He was still trapping the tens of thousands of unconscious soldiers. Next, Jun Changxiao went to several cities of different sizes. As long as there were petrified statues in the barracks, he used the old method to bind them with formations, and then took away the equipment and weapons. When Gosheng crossed the border, nothing was left. Outside, the Great Guardian and the black-robed warrior were still fantasizing about the Moang region's seal being completely removed. With a wave of the demon ancestor's arm, millions of Moang army would gather. Yes, millions of soldiers in their underwear gathered. It was quite interesting. However, the prerequisite was that they had to break the formation first. The camera moved to the west, which was the West Sea area. The black light still maintained the momentum of breaking through the clouds. Although the 10 great immortal Sect's experts had rushed over early, they could only stand in the distance. Because there was nothing else there other than the rising phenomenon. Stop. There was no way to do it. In fact, it was useless to stop it, because this phenomenon was meant to attract them. The real location of the demon ancestors' resurrection was in the dark environment of the boiling blood pool. The huge blood shadow splashed on the wall flickered with colorful light, and gradually became real. This was a three-front battle. First, the natural phenomenon attracted firepower. Second, the 10 innate demon bodies opened the passage to the Moang region. Third, the body reconstruction. As expected, the resurrection of the demon ancestor had become a fact. When he returned to the upper realm and entered the demonic domain to summon his army, what awaited the upper realm would be endless disasters. Plop! Plop! Inside the isolation formation, the demonic tribe soldiers, who had just been activated, fell one by one. Their armors and weapons were all taken away. Pa! The demon ancestor to the demon ancestor to Moang to the Moang to the Moang region. It had been more than half a day since they entered the demonic region. He and Yao Menjing had visited 10 cities and obtained nearly 200,000 sets of armor and weapons. It was a bountiful harvest. Jun Changshao would only complain that it was too little, not too much. Even if he couldn't fit all of them, he could still sell them. If the ancestral demon, who was at the critical juncture of his revival, knew that the equipment that he had spent a great deal of effort and resources to create when he was alive had been stolen by an outsider, the first thing he would do when he opened his eyes would be vomiting blood. The amount of blood he spat out would definitely increase. That's right, the system said. From the translation of the words on the city gate, this is indeed the main city of the demon ancestor. It's so damn big. At this moment, Jun Changshao was in the air above a huge circular city. There were wide streets inside the city, and the buildings along the sides looked very imposing. In particular, there were magnificent buildings in the central area, giving people the feeling that this place was a forbidden area of an imperial palace. Demon Ancestor City. The main hall represented a sect. The main city naturally represented a country or clan. It was no different from other cities. It was still lifeless. There were no living creatures. Strange. Jun Changshao was puzzled. Why do I only see the soldiers and not the residents? This question had been bothering him for a long time. If it was sealed by some powerful force, why did it only seal the soldiers? What about the ordinary people living in it? Moreover, who was the one who sealed the soldiers? Jun Changshao guessed that it might be the 10 great sects and clans, but he quickly dismissed the idea. After all, Yao Menjing broke it with just a touch of her palm. That was too careless, the system said. Maybe it was sealed by one of our own. I think so too. Jun Changshao agreed. Yao Menjing had the innate holy devil body, so she could unlock the seal by touching the palm print. However, there was no effect when she reached out her hand, which meant that the mystery lay in her physique or bloodline. Is there such a possibility? Jun Changshao guessed. 100,000 years ago, the demon ancestor realized that his time was coming, so he used some kind of sacred art to seal the soldiers in advance, waiting for the day to be unsealed. The system said, that's possible. I went to a few cities and didn't see any residents. Maybe it has something to do with the demon ancestor's sacred art. For example, Jun Changshao's expression suddenly became serious and said, sacrificing your life. The host's imagination is a little wild. Jun Changshao's guess was well-founded. After all, one of the demon ancestor's resurrection plans in the land of demon fate was to sacrifice the devil cultivator to be reborn. 100,000 years ago, using the lives of the clansmen to continue the soldiers, leaving them to rise again in the future. That must be it. Go Shen confirmed his guess in his heart. This would explain why there were so many cities with only soldiers and no residents, and why they could be revived so easily. So what if the host knows? Jun Changshao was dumbfounded by the system's question. That's right. Even if I know the cause and effect, what's the use? Moreover, as far as I can see, the demon ancestor's resurrection place is not in Moang City. Wait. Jun Changshao slapped his forehead and said, If that guy is not resurrecting here, why did the 10 physiques come in? Could it be that they were specially sent to remove the seal and then work together with the resurrected demon ancestor? If that's the case, once the demon ancestor is resurrected, the entire upper realm will be plunged into misery and suffering. The system paused and said, now that the host is in Moang City, it's equivalent to carrying the heavy responsibility of saving the world. Jun Changshao rolled his eyes and said, I don't have that ability. Gosheng firmly believed that if the demon ancestor was successfully resurrected, one look would be enough to torture him. Not necessarily, the system said. Resurrection is a heaven-defying act. Even if it succeeds, it will be limited. Maybe its cultivation after resurrection will not be as high as the host's. Are you sure? Refer to Yi Xingqian and Gu Zhaoxi. That's right, my disciple and brother. One is the reincarnation of a great emperor, and the other is an infinite reincarnation. Although the latter will become stronger every time he dies, in the end, won't he still have to cultivate from the beginning? What's even more important is, the system said, the demon ancestor needs to reconstruct his physical body. Even if he retains his cultivation when he was alive, there will definitely be an adaptation period. It might take hundreds or thousands of years. That makes sense. Jun Changshao gradually felt relieved. An old guy who had been dead for 100,000 years. Even if he was resurrected, it did not seem that scary. I understand now, Jun Changshao said in realization. Maybe the demon ancestor knows that he will not be able to reach his cultivation level in the shortest time after his resurrection. So he sealed the soldiers in advance, so that he would have the combat power to contend with the 10 major sects after his resurrection. We can't rule out this possibility, the system said. Jun Changshao stood up and looked at the hundreds of thousands of statues gathered in the military camp in the distance. He grinned and said, these are the demon ancestor's wings. If we cut them off in advance, won't he become a general without an army? The host destroyed a few third-class forbidden areas earlier, and his reputation has dropped severely. If we can resolve the crisis of the demon ancestor's resurrection this time, it can be completely washed clean, and no one will be able to find fault with it. Moreover, the system said, resolving the world's crisis might greatly increase the sect's reputation. Clap. Jun Changshao clapped and said heroically, for the thousands of living beings, for the common people of the world, I, Jun Changshao, will take on this heavy responsibility. Chapter 15-17. The demon ancestor was very pitiful, because Jun Changshao had guessed most of the plan. That's right. He was worried that it would be difficult to restore his strength to its peak in the shortest time after his resurrection. So he sealed the million-strong army in advance and waited for his summons. To be exact, these soldiers were actually ready to do something big 100,000 years ago, but because the 10 immortal sects and various clans acted first, they could only seal themselves temporarily. The demon ancestor was considered a hero of his generation. Therefore, this resurrection would definitely bring disaster to the upper realm. It was not a big problem. The troublemaking Prince Jun Changshao was in the Moang territory. Even if he did not have the ability to stop the demon ancestor's resurrection, since he had guessed his intention, he would definitely find a way to cut off his wings. In fact, in the Falling Star continent, Gosheng really did not want to be a savior, but because of various reasons, he always accidentally saved the world. This might be my fate. Jun Changshao sat on the city wall with his back bent. His back revealed the aura of a great hero, for the country and the people. Stop pretending, the system said. Hurry up and act. Swoosh. Jun Changshao jumped down from the city and landed in a larger military camp outside the main city. There were more soldiers here, as many as 300,000. They should be the most elite army in the entire Moang tribe. What a pity, Jun Changshao said. I can't use them. Such professional soldiers with high strength. If the conditions allowed, he would definitely be more willing to directly control them, instead of just taking away their weapons and equipment. Patriarch. Yao Minjing pointed to the statues at the front of the drill ground and said, the armor they're wearing is very similar to the ones drawn on the map. Jun Changshao said. It should be the second-generation armor. Just from the petrified form, the second-generation armor was obviously more impressive than the first-generation armor, and should be stronger in terms of combat. They might be at the level of a general. There were a total of 8 people standing at the front of the team, wearing the second-generation armor. Judging from their physique and demeanor, it was obvious that soldiers A, B, C, and D could not be compared to them. The system said, there must be masters in such a large tribe. Maybe they're fierce generals under the demon ancestor. Then I can't just simply unseal them. Jun Changshao became vigilant. Let's assume that they were all generals of the army. They might not be weak. If he released the seal rashly, if they were rank 8 or 9, or had reached the truth-seeking realm, he would definitely die. Swish! Suddenly, the sound of wind breaking could be heard from afar. Jun Changshao and Yao Minjing both turned their heads to look. At the end of their vision, they saw a stream of light slowly rising into the sky before merging into the folded space. Buzz buzz buzz! The enchantment that enveloped the entire domain loomed. Not good. Jun Changshao's expression changed slightly, and he said, someone is trying to break the seal that exists in the demonic region. The system said, it must be the 8 demonic cultivators who came in together. Lass, Jun Changshao said, let's go. If the soldiers in the demonic territory were used to assist the resurrected demon lord, then the most important thing now was to prevent the seal from being broken. Otherwise there would be a huge problem. Buzz! Wang! Buzz! In the outside world, the whirlpool that converged at the sacrificial altar also began to tremble along with the shaking of the space in the demonic domain. Found it! The great guardian said ecstatically. We found the place of the seal. He and the black-robed man did not leave the sacrificial altar for long, because they were waiting for this moment. Now it was finally here. The 10 immortal sects, the various major clans, start trembling. Gurgle gurgle. In the blood pool in the dark area, the blood boiled even more intensely. The blood stains of the spirit star splattered on the wall, adding another stroke to the gradually materializing huge shadow. Our ancestor is about to be resurrected. The black-robed old men sitting in the 4 positions stood up excitedly. The leader took out a ball with dark attribute rolling inside, and carefully placed it in the groove of the stone platform closest to him. On this day, suddenly, a sinister voice came from inside the ball. I have waited for 100,000 years, and it is finally here. If Jun Changshao was present, he would have immediately realized that the person speaking was the demon lord, who had set up 2 resurrection plans consecutively. Honorable Master. The black-robed old man placed one hand on his chest and said sincerely, the 10 chess pieces have successfully entered the ancestral land and are breaking the seal. When you are successfully resurrected, you can command the 1,000,000-strong army. Good. Very good. The 10 immortal sects annihilated the demon clan. When I return, I will make them pay back 10,000 times. Gurgle gurgle. The blood in the blood pool boiled even more. The huge shadow that seemed to be engraved on the wall gradually protruded, and had the appearance of a body. The body was formed, and the remnant soul was fused. It was time for the demon lord to be resurrected. Jun Changshao, who was worried sick about Yi Xingqian and Pei Aniu, would be dazzled when he saw this thing, because he lacked a body to completely separate the two. Demon territory. Jun Changshao and Yao Minjing used the rainbow dazzling light wings to fly to the area, where the flowing light soared into the sky. In the wilderness, there was a circular stone platform with complicated patterns on it. Number 2 stood on it and roared. The light that stirred the seal came from his mouth. Whoosh whoosh, whoosh whoosh whoosh. The pattern under his feet flickered with dark light, and a strong demonic aura spread out. Innate demonic body. When they were making up the numbers at the altar, the physiques of the 9 people, including Yao Minjing, had been stimulated to open up the whirlpool that connected to the demonic domain. Therefore Jun Changshao was able to tell right away. Whoosh! Suddenly, the innate demonic body that was forced out was entangled in the flowing light, and then flew up in a spiral shape, apparently to collide with the enchantment used to seal the entire demon territory. Hurry up and stop it. the system said. Whoosh! Jun Changshao immediately flew up, and the power of the true spirit burst out, turning into a solid giant hand and grabbing at the rising innate demonic body. Whoosh whoosh! Like a slap to the face, the black stream of light was caught in the palm of his hand and squeaked like a mouse. Bang! Jun Changshao landed and said coldly, "With me here, no one can break the seal of the demon territory." Whoosh! As soon as he finished speaking, the innate demonic body rushed out. Damn it! Isn't it too slippery? Jun Changshao hurriedly chased, and this time the innate demonic body was faster than before. In the blink of an eye, he rushed into the sky along with the flowing light, and was very close to the enchantment. Oh no! It's too late! Whoosh! At this time, Yao Minjing flapped the colorful wings and hung at the connection point between the flowing light and the enchantment, and said with a tense face, "Stop!" Jie! The innate demonic body that rushed up like a mouse suddenly came to a sudden stop under Meng Meng's stare. How can this work? Jun Changshao was dumbfounded. Patriarch, Yao Minjing said, I can control the innate demonic body. Physiques and attributes were unique, and unless used some means, they would not recognize other martial artists. However, when the second man's physique flew out, she felt a sense of affinity. Come here. Whoosh! A wisp of innate demonic body flew over and lingered on Yao Minjing's arm. Jun Changshao said, Is it because of the innate saint demon body that you can control the inferior innate demonic body? It should be, right? Yao Minjing asked weakly. Patriarch, can I take this innate demonic body for myself? As long as you can subdue it, the other 7 are also yours. Chapter 15:18. Yao Minjing had a strong affinity with man number 2's innate demonic body. She felt that it was like her own, so she had the idea of occupying it. But it seemed a little wrong, so she asked the patriarch. If not for the limited space in the Tianyuan prison pagoda, Jun Changshao, who wanted to fit the entire Moang territory inside, would definitely not object. If allowed, it would not be a problem to let the disciples occupy the other 7. This is very Go-sheng. The system complained. Don't misunderstand. Jun Changshao explained. I am doing this for the world. Obviously, the innate demonic body was going to attack the sealing enchantment along the stream of light. If Yao Minjing could take it for herself and control it, wouldn't the problem be solved? The system complained weakly. You win. Patriarch, I want to refine it. Yao Minjing landed and sat on the ground. She released her mind to envelop the innate demonic body and began to take it for herself. Jun Changshao locked his eyes on man number 2 who was spitting out light and said, This guy should be controlled. I will wake him up. Bang! The camera turned and the right foot hit his face. Hardcore awake. Plop! Man number 2 flew out of the stone platform and bounced on the ground several times before landing 100 feet away. A big footprint was clearly visible on his face. Without driving, the stream of light dissipated. The excited great guardian outside found that the vortex suddenly stopped trembling, and his expression suddenly froze. What's the situation? The black-robed man was surprised. The Moang territory hasn't broken the seal yet. Why did it suddenly stop? Could it be an accident? As soon as the great guardian finished speaking, the vortex trembled regularly again. So he was relieved and smiled. Isn't it starting again? Jun Changshao, who had just rescued man number 2, looked up and found another stream of light in the east. He frowned. There is more than one seal? The system said. From the number of people who came in, there should be 10 seals. Patriarch. At this moment, Yao Minjing stood up and said, The refining is done. So fast. Surprise appeared on Jun Changshao's face. If constitution was compared to attributes, even if it could be absorbed, it would take time to digest. This girl had done it in just 1 minute. The process was too easy and casual. Patriarch. Yao Minjing lowered her voice and said, After fusing with the innate demon body, I broke through to the 3rd rank. What? Jun Changshao almost jumped up. Yao Minjing had just benefited from the land of demonic affinity, and was still far from breaking through. Now that she had fused with the demonic cultivator's physique, Her strength had risen by a whole level. This was a little terrifying. Go. I'll bring you to the second one. At this moment, even if it wasn't for the sake of the world, Jun Changshao had to let his disciples obtain the physiques of the other 8 people. After all, it might be an opportunity. Yeah, the system said, this is the host's nature. Dear reader, come and slander him. In the area where the light was flickering, there was also a stone platform with complicated patterns on it. A woman in a black robe stood in it, spitting out light from her mouth, shaking the seal enchantment in the sky. Jun Changshao and Yao Minjing rushed over as fast as they could. Because of their previous experience, they hovered nearby and waited for the innate demon body to appear. Sure enough, after a while, the black attribute emerged like a snake and rushed up along the light. Girl, I'll leave it to you. Yao Minjing, who had long been prepared, flew over and then stopped in midair shouting, "Stop!" The innate demon body hurriedly stopped and lingered on her arm like an obedient baby. Witnessing the process again, Jun Changshao said with certainty, the girl's innate saint devil body can definitely suppress the innate demon body. The system said. According to the Zongyue Pavilion branch leader, the demon ancestor separated the 10 innate demon bodies before he fell. Perhaps they came from the innate saint devil body. It's possible, Jun Changshao agreed. The system said again. Since there are 2 owners attacking the enchantment in succession, does it mean that only 10 innate demon bodies can break the seal and let the demonic territory reappear in the world? Jun Changshao's eyes lit up and said, if that's the case, as long as Minjing takes all the remaining physiques for herself, it is equivalent to becoming the key to opening the seal, and all the problems will not be a problem. While he was talking with the system, Yao Minjing sat cross-legged on the ground and began to skillfully fuse with the second innate demon body. Because she had an extremely high affinity, this kind of physique that did not belong to her was quickly absorbed into her body and perfectly fused with her own physique. The entire process took less than a minute. Patriarch, I broke through to the 4th grade. Jun Changshao almost cried. When he leveled up, he had to put in a lot of effort to complete the epic mission. She broke through just by fusing with her physique. In the outside world, the whirlpool stopped trembling again. The reason was that Jun Changshao kicked the first woman out in the same way as he did with the second man. Why did it stop again? The Great Protector and the black-robed old man collapsed again. Buzz! After waiting for about 10 minutes, the whirlpool continued to tremble, and this made the 2 revive with full health again. They guessed that this was the necessary procedure to break the seal? Sure enough, not long after it stopped again. Ha ha ha. The Great Protector laughed and said, don't worry, this should be a normal phenomenon. Buzz! After a while, the whirlpool trembled again. After appearing so many times in a row, the Great Protector and the black-robed man were completely relieved. So if it stopped again, they would definitely face it calmly. The 8 innate demon body inheritors in the Moang territory would appear on the fixed stone platform almost every once in a while to stimulate the flowing light. Jun Changshao and Yao Minjing were always able to stop the innate demon bodies that rushed over. Plop! The 4th man, who seemed to have lost his mind, flew out, and his right face was kicked all the way to the ground before he stopped. Jun Changshao retracted his foot and clapped his hands. 2 more. Yao Minjing sat cross-legged in the distance and used the fastest time to fuse with the 6th innate demon body. She scratched her head and said, Patriarch, I broke through to rank 8. Jun Changshao's mouth twitched slightly. 6 innate demon bodies, all the way from rank 2 to rank 8. From now on, I will remove the title of cheater, because I am not worthy. In a dark environment, a cold voice came from the sphere placed on the stone platform. Have you found the girl who obtained my innate demon body from the land of demonic affinity? Lord Ancestor, I have found her, the black-robed old man said respectfully. The person who obtained your bloodline inheritance is a disciple of the Sect of all times. Sect of all times? The demon ancestor's remnant soul said. What sect is this? The black-robed old man hurriedly told him about the Sect of all times. Because he had just ascended from the upper realm, there was not much to do, So he finished quickly. TSK. The demon ancestor's remnant soul said in surprise. Ascending to the upper realm with a sect mountain? This is probably unprecedented. Lord Ancestor, the black-robed old man said with a solemn expression. The master of this sect of all times patriarch is Jimrin Tonggu, a peak truth-seeking expert. We do not dare to rashly snatch that disciple. No worries, the demon ancestor said indifferently. The physique belongs to me. Even if it is obtained by an outsider, it is just a tool. After I revive, whether it is the 10 innate demon bodies or the innate demon body, they will all become energy and return to my body. At that time, the million demon army will also listen to my orders. No one dares to disobey. The last 4 words were said with a very imposing aura, instantly setting off the demeanor of a formidable person. Chapter 15:19. Fusing with 6 innate demon bodies, and raising her cultivation level by 6 levels. Yao Minjing's rapid cultivation speed made Jun Changshao cry with envy. If she fused with the remaining 2, wouldn't she break through to the peak of the revolving core realm from the 8th rank? Wait, there's another one outside. Fuck, Jun Changshao collapsed in his heart. She's definitely at the truth-seeking realm. Don't cry, host. The system comforted him. As long as you're brave enough to refresh the store, your cultivation speed might not be slower than mine. Bullshit, Jun Changshao roared. Can you let me break through several ranks in a few hours? The system was silent. Indeed, Yao Minjing's breakthrough method was too fast. Even if there were items in the store that could raise one's cultivation level, it was impossible for it to be so fast. Swish. At this moment, another stream of light rose into the sky from another direction. Girl, Jun Changshao hurriedly said, let's go. At this moment, he already knew that whenever a stream of light appeared, it must be the owner of the physique trying to break the seal. This would expose their coordinates, allowing him to easily find them. Boom! On the 7th stone platform, the 4th woman was kicked down. Yao Minjing continued to absorb. As expected, after fusing with the innate demon body, her cultivation level rose from the 8th rank to the 9th rank. The current her was fully deserving of the title of Nanbo One in the sect of all times. Even Gu Zhaoxi had to lower himself to be second. When he first transmigrated to the Falling Star continent, Jun Changxiao's cultivation level was lower than his disciples for a period of time. After that he was never surpassed again. Now that a disciple had finally caught up, it was truly worth celebrating. Of course, Gosheng was also happy for Yao Minjing's improvement. After all, when a disciple became stronger, it was equivalent to the sect becoming stronger. At most, he as the patriarch would have to lie down in the future. Girl, Jun Changshao said seriously. In the future, the sect will rely on you young people to hold up the world. Don't let me down. You're already lying down? The system was speechless. Yao Minjing nodded heavily and said, I will definitely do my best for the sect. While the two were talking, another stream of light soared into the sky, so they hurriedly rushed over and used the previous method to stop the innate demon body and began refining. Whoosh! Hoo. After fusing with the 8th physique, Yao Minjing exuded a vast aura. She said, Patriarch, I have stepped into the peak of the revolving core realm. Jun Changxiao's mouth twitched, but then he said seriously, there's still one more. The buried Moon Pavilion branch leader had said that the demon ancestor had split into 10 natural demon bodies. When all of them appeared in the upper realm, it would be the day of their resurrection. Now that the phenomenon had appeared, it meant that the 10th one had already arrived. However, he had come here to make up the numbers, so where was the 10th person? Outside, the whirlpool stopped trembling again. The Great Guardian's expression was very calm. He was even guessing that since the phenomenon had appeared intermittently for such a long time, the seal should be about to be broken. The black-robed man said, According to the secret records left behind by my ancestor, 10 innate fiend bodies are needed to lift the seal. Now that there is still one outside, I'm afraid it will be difficult to meet the requirements. The Great Protector's expression turned serious. He did not know who had replaced the 10th physique to enter, But to be able to fuse with the other 9 and open the entrance to the demonic region together meant that it had to be a fiend cultivator. It had to be one of them. However, entering was one thing. Whether or not the seal could be broken was another matter. Easy. After a short silence, the Great Protector glanced at the 10th person standing beside him and said, "Since he has the innate fiend body, he should be able to enter without any restrictions." As he spoke, he grabbed the 10th person and threw him into the whirlpool. Swish! The 10th person successfully passed through the barrier. After stabilizing himself, he looked at the unfamiliar world and asked in confusion, "What is this place?" He was the same as the previous 8 physiques. At first, he had lost his mind and was controlled by some kind of power. After arriving at the demonic region, he immediately woke up. This was a man in his 20s or 30s. His appearance was relatively ordinary. Perhaps because he had just ascended to the upper realm, his strength was not too strong. If Jun Changshao saw him, he would definitely not recognize him. After being stunned for a short while, the 10th person walked aimlessly along a road. However, after walking for an hour, a strong will suddenly came from afar, causing him to lose his mind instantly. He shouted in a low voice, "Ceiling platform! Ceiling platform!" From this, it could be seen why the other 8 people who came in first appeared on the ceiling platform one after another. With their bodies as the driving force, they should be slowly controlled. Here came the question. Why was Yao Minjing fine? How could she still stay awake? How would he know? Patriarch. Yao Minjing said, "What are we going to do next? Let me think about it." Jun Changshao sat cross-legged next to the ceiling platform. He closed his eyes and shook his 2 fingers on his head. He looked like he was possessed by Brother Xioga. The 8 innate fiend bodies had all gathered in Yao Minjing's body, so there was no need to worry about the seal being broken. The next thing to do was naturally to destroy. What was the real danger of the demonic region? It was the large number of soldiers who were sealed. If the fiend ancestor resurrected and had any way to remove them, bringing them out would definitely cause a lot of trouble. So the best way was to destroy them in advance, or make them lose their combat power. "Let's go," Jun Changshao said. "Let's go to other places to take a look." There were too many soldiers in the demonic region's main city, and there were also a few generals. They couldn't be released rashly. He planned to go to other cities to take a look. If he encountered those small ones, he could easily get rid of them. At first, Goxing only took off their armor and equipment and didn't take their lives. It was a pity to kill so many reincarnation realm cultivators. However, he guessed the fiend ancestors' intention and didn't show any mercy. If they didn't die today, they would definitely become a threat in the future. Swish. Not long after, the stream of light appeared again. Jun Changshao said in surprise, "Why is someone trying to break the seal again? Let's go." Swish. Swish. The 2 of them rushed to the scene, as fast as they could, and saw the 10th person, who was controlled standing on the ceiling platform. He was spitting out streams of light from his mouth. "Who is this?" Jun Changshao said. "How did you get in?" From Gosheng's blank expression, the system was obviously disappointed. The 10th innate fiend body wasn't someone they knew. It was completely a passerby. "Girl, I'll leave it to you." Yao Minjing was already prepared. When she saw the innate fiend body flying out, she hurriedly stopped it and began to fuse with it skillfully. As usual, Jun Changshao kicked the 10th person away, freeing him from the sacrificial state. Then he lay on the ground and struggled in pain. Huff, 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 huff. However, after fusing with the 9th innate fiend body, Yao Minjing's body surged with a majestic demonic aura. Even her black hair was blown up, and a bright red crescent moon pattern appeared on her forehead. Jun Changshao was stunned. He didn't see such a situation when fusing with the other 8. Swish, swish. At this moment, 10 streams of black light shot out from Yao Minjing's body and gathered into a ball above her head, spinning continuously. "I understand now," the system said. The innate fiend body was separated and gathered in one person's body. It should be recombining. Huff, 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 huff. An even more explosive demonic aura emerged from Yao Minjing's body and gradually condensed into a huge black shadow. It stood proudly behind her like a killing god, and a sinister voice sounded. As long as heaven and earth exist, the demonic path will exist forever. Blood Pool Altar. The fiend ancestor, whose remnant soul existed in the ball, exclaimed, "Oh no, my 10 innate fiend bodies have been obtained by one person, and are signing an eternal contract with him." Chapter 1520. What was the innate demon body? In fact, it was the 10 secondary physiques that were separated from the innate saint demon body. As the saying goes, scattered is a plate of sand, gathered is a flower. When the 10 innate demon bodies truly fused, it could be called the most complete innate saint demon body. So, the higher level physiques that Yao Minjing inherited in the land of demon fate were actually incomplete. Today, the 10 physiques were fused, and they were reunited in the true sense. However, the demon ancestor was about to cry. Back then, the purpose of separating the physique was firstly to remove the seal, and secondly, to summon the successor after his rebirth to obtain all the cultivation of the successor. Even the sacred body stored in the land of demon fate was part of the plan. Simply put, there was no need to worry about who inherited the demon body, because it would all return in the end. But now, before he was resurrected, the physiques had already fused and signed an eternal contract. What would he do after his resurrection? It must be that girl. The demon ancestor roared. She must be fusing with my innate saint demon body. No, the sacred body stored in the land of demon fate was also part of the plan. Why could the successor fuse with the 10 innate demon bodies? Did something happen? He guessed right. There was a change. This change was that when Yao Minjing fused with the innate saint demon body, there was Jun Changshao, and she experienced the demon chi entering her body. She even spent all 3 points to get out of danger. If Go Sheng did not participate, no matter who inherited the innate saint demon body, the final result would be a sacrifice for the demon ancestor after his resurrection. However, this kind of thing would not happen to Yao Minjing, because under the power of Krypton, the fused innate saint demon body had fundamentally changed, and even completely fused with the body and soul. The previous owner of the physiques was the demon ancestor. Even if it was given to someone else, it would just be borrowing. Now it had completely lost control. Therefore, after Yao Minjing came to the demon territory, not only did she not lose consciousness and destroy the seal, but she also treated this place as her home, and easily fused with the 9 demon bodies. Time and fate. If the demon ancestor knew the truth, he would definitely vomit blood. The various plans that were set up 100,000 years ago had stumped the 10 immortal sects and the various clans. But in the end, it was all for someone else. Heaven and Earth Demon Dao. In front of the 9th ceiling platform, the huge shadow let out a deep voice. Yao Minjing, sitting in front of it, also said, the crescent moon pattern on her forehead. It won't be dangerous, right? What Jun Changshao didn't know was that Yao Minjing was signing an eternal contract with the innate saint demon body. He was worried that something would happen to her, or that she would lose her mind and turn into a demoness. The system said, there shouldn't be any problems. Fuck. The system roared. Can't you say something nasty at a time like this? Okay. As he wished, the system said, lose your mind and turn into a demon. Swish. Swish. At this moment, the 10 black energy balls that had gathered above Yao Minjing's head gradually returned to her body, and the huge shadow behind her gradually materialized. What the hell is this? Jun Changshao asked in surprise. The system said, it seems to be some kind of special creature. Who? The huge shadow gradually materialized. Because its entire body was black, it looked like an African. Swish. Suddenly, a bright red crescent moon pattern appeared on his forehead. Not only was it exactly the same as the one on Yao Minjing's forehead, but it was also flashing at the same frequency. Thud. At this moment, the big black man took a step back and knelt on one knee. He stretched out a palm and placed it behind Yao Minjing, looking very respectful. What do you mean? Don't ask me, I don't know. Jun Changshao and the system were in a state of confusion. Swish. Yao Minjing stood up and jumped onto the big palm behind her. Swish, swish. The big black man raised his hand and put her on his shoulder. Yao Minjing put her right leg on her left leg, leaned forward, and rested her chin on her left hand. Her eyes glowed with a seductive luster, and a strong demonic aura burst out. Jun Changxiao was dumbfounded. This girl was only a few years old when she first entered the sect. Although she was already an adult and looked very beautiful, she was a little silly because of her personality. Now that she was sitting on the big black man, she had turned from a natural silly girl to a cynical girl. Patriarch. Yao Minjing raised the corner of her mouth and said with a smile, "This is my innate holy demon body, also known as the dark spirit." Since there were fire spirit, evil spirit, and so on in the world, it was not strange that there was also a dark spirit. But what puzzled Jun Changxiao was how a spirit body could be a constitution. The system said, the host has 2 sons, which means that they control the power of fire spirit and evil spirit. There is nothing wrong with classifying them as constitutions. Okay, Jun Changxiao understood a little. However, my 2 spirit bodies have just reached the juvenile stage. But this girl's spirit body is not only an adult, but also in its prime. The gap between them is too big. Swish! Yao Minjing jumped down, hiding the crescent moon on her forehead, and said with a smile, "Combining all the innate holy demon bodies has allowed me to break through to the truth-seeking realm. In the future, if you encounter danger, I will protect the patriarch." Jun Changxiao's expression became interesting. Before coming to the demonic territory, this girl was the junior sister that the disciples cared about the most. Now that she had broken through to the truth-seeking realm in such a short time, the situation became that everyone would rely on her protection in the future. Yao Minjing, who had combined 9 innate holy demon bodies, perfectly inherited the innate holy demon body, had the dark spirit, and also broke through to the truth-seeking realm. This tells us that when a disciple uses hacks, sometimes she is crazier than the patriarch, Gosheng. Of course, he had to thank the demon ancestor. Without his 100,000 years of planning, there wouldn't be the great demon king today. Patriarch, Yao Minjing said with a smile, "I can leave the demonic territory without destroying the seal. Do you want to go?" Perhaps it was because she had perfectly inherited the spirit body, and her cultivation had improved. But this girl's temperament was very demonic and mature, no longer as silly and cute as before. People would eventually grow up. "You can't leave yet," Jun Changxiao said. "I want to destroy it." His disciple's benefit was not over yet. He had to get rid of the soldiers in the demonic territory. Swish, swish. The 2 flew away from the ceiling platform and continued to look for the city. Because Yao Minjing's realm had improved, her speed had obviously surpassed Jun Changxiao's, which made him feel very gratified. After all, it must be the patriarch's credit that his disciple had become stronger. Not long after, the 2 of them stopped in the air above a small city. There was indeed a military camp nearby, and there were 10,000 soldiers sealed inside. "Girl," Jun Changxiao said, "unseal." He didn't care about such a small number of people at all. Yao Minjing landed in front of the platform and pressed the mark on the wall. Crack, 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 crack. The stones on the 10,000 soldiers fell off, and they were also awakened from the sealed state. Swish! Jun Changxiao waved his hand and summoned the green dragon crescent blade, his eyes flashing with fighting spirit and killing intent. Not only did he have to take away the equipment on these soldiers, but he also had to take away their lives, in case the demon ancestor revived and took them out to do evil. However, what Gosheng did not expect was that after the 10,000 soldiers revived, they did not shout the word kill as usual. Instead, they put down their weapons, knelt on the ground and shouted, "Greetings, my lord." Jun Changxiao was stunned, and stiffly turned his head to look at Yao Minjing, who was kneeling down. The girl stuck out her tongue mischievously and said, "Patriarch, these soldiers seem to be listening to my orders. Let them take off their armor. Take off your armor." Crack, crack. The 10,000 soldiers did not hesitate to take off their armor. "Let them put on their armor. Put on your armor." Crack, crack. The 10,000 soldiers did not hesitate to put on their armor. Tisk tsk tsk. Tsk tsk, tsk tsk, tsk. Suddenly, a strange laughter came from the military camp, causing the already gloomy atmosphere to become even more intense. Chapter 1521. Without a huge container to store living beings, Jun Changshao could only choose to take the equipment and kill the demonic tribe soldiers to prevent future trouble. To be honest, his heart ached. After all, these were genuine first transformation reincarnation realm cultivators. God knows how many resources were used to cultivate them. Killing them like this would be a waste of resources. There was no other choice. For the sake of the world, he could only send them on their way. However, the fact that Yao Minjing could command the soldiers of the Wavy Devil tribe was so sudden that Jun Changshao was dumbfounded. Soon after, he could not help but laugh like a villain. If his disciple could control them, it meant that he could control them too. If he brought them back to the sect, who else in the world would he be afraid of? A reincarnation realm cultivator might be ordinary, but what about hundreds of thousands? Especially when there were still 300,000 in demonic tribe and 8 generals. If they were revived and obeyed his orders, he could easily lead an army to flatten the realm hall. He could totally go head-to-head with the 10 great celestial sects. Invincible. Jun Changshao covered his face and said, "My sect of all times is invincible." The system said, "This is the sect style, not the protagonist style. Host, please control your expression." "Control my ass." Jun Changshao roared with a ferocious expression. "With so many soldiers in hand, whoever dares to make an enemy of my sect of all times, I will crush their bones and scatter their ashes." Sigh. Crazy. Understandable. After ascending to the upper realm, going through the myriad tribulation lightning formation, being surrounded by the major tribes, and being schemed against by Empress Ling Yao and the others, Jun Changshao had been very depressed. He could not find the joy of sweeping across the falling star continent. Now that he had so many soldiers, what was there to be afraid of? I, Jun Changshao. From today onwards, I will be myself again. Who is himself? It was that little expert who did things his own way and killed anyone who bullied him with his fists. Hurry up and greet the patriarch. Yao Minjing glared at him. The soldiers who had just been revived were confused. However, they obeyed their master unconditionally and shouted, "Greetings, patriarch." Ka-ka. Ka-ka-ka. In a military camp outside another city, tens of thousands of soldiers were unsealed. After sensing the powerful demonic energy emerging from Yao Minjing's body, they all knelt on the ground and shouted. As expected, Jun Changshao came to a realization and said, "This girl can really control them." In order to ensure that nothing would go wrong, he took Yao Minjing back to the city they had been to before, and removed the isolation formation. The soldiers who had been stripped of their armor and weapons woke up and respectfully knelt on the ground. The system sighed. With so many soldiers under your disciples' command, if they were to gather together, it would be a terrifying force. So, Jun Changshao grinned. What a great harvest! He had thought that he had struck it rich after obtaining so many battle armors and forging facilities in the demonic region. He had not expected Yao Minjing to break through to the truth-seeking realm and be able to control so many first transition soldiers. Awesome. It felt so good. Let's go. Jun Changshao said. Let's go to the main city. After many tests, they had confirmed that Yao Minjing could command the demonic tribe soldiers. So, they would not let go of the real big fish. In the main city, Yao Minjing stood in front of the platform and placed her small hand on the engraving. Ka-ka-ka. The 300,000 soldiers all woke up from their petrified state. Then they put down their weapons and knelt on the ground. Standing at the front, the generals wearing the second-generation battle armor also woke up. There was no demonic logo on their chest armor, but strange words. Very strong. The system said. They are all of the truth-seeking realm. Jun Changshao clutched his chest, and his expression gradually twisted. He wanted to laugh. He wanted to laugh crazily. But with so many people watching, he was afraid that he would lose his status as a patriarch. So he forced himself to suppress it. Hundreds of thousands of first transition soldiers and 8 truth-seeking realm soldiers. What reason did the sect of all times have to be afraid of the Jia Hall? What reason did they have to be afraid of any Xianjin Dao sect? Jun Changshao did not bring the immortal sect, because he knew that although he had many subordinates, he did not have enough top-notch strength. If he had a few peak truth-seeking realm cultivators, he would not be afraid at all. Swish! The leftmost general stepped out and bowed. Greetings, master. Ghost General Zhili greets my lord. Ghost General Wei pays his respects to my lord. Ghost General Wang pays his respects to my lord. The 8 of them bowed in order, which made Jun Changshao realize that if he combined the word ghost and the word ghost, wouldn't it represent Kuei-chi Mei Lu Bai Bai Ba? This name was quite interesting. Cough. Yao Minjing stood on the stage, moistened her throat and said, "Listen up, he is my patriarch. From now on, not only must you listen to me, but you must also listen to him." The girl's realm had increased, but her wings had not hardened. She still relied on Jun Changshao, and still regarded him as a loved one. Go Sheng was very gratified. His disciple had become stronger, and did not forget herself. Ghost 8 generals. Yao Minjing said, "How many soldiers are there in the demonic region?" "Master," Guido replied, 1 million. 1 million. Plop. Jun Changshao suddenly fainted on the stage with a smile on his face. Obviously, in order to maintain his demeanor, he tried his best to hold back his laughter and passed out. Counting the 300,000 soldiers in the main city, they only found a total of 600,000, so there were still 400,000 scattered in the major cities. Thus, Yao Minjing led Ghost 8 generals to search one by one. Jun Changshao was placed in the main city's palace. In his coma, he had a dream. In the dream, he led a 1,000,000 demonic army to destroy the Imperial Sword Sect and the High Blade Sect. In the end, he stood proudly in the ruins of the World Hall and shouted, "The wind is blowing, the clouds are flying." Patriarch. Suddenly, a shout came from beside his ear. "Stop laughing, wake up." Jun Changshao opened his eyes. Seeing Yao Minjing standing beside him and shouting, his heart skipped a beat. He thought to himself, "This girl can control the demonic army. Is it a dream?" The system said, "I hope it's a dream. I made the host happy for nothing." Yao Minjing smiled and said, "Patriarch, while you were unconscious, I have gathered 1,000,000 soldiers. They are waiting outside the palace. Do you want to go out and take a look?" "Look, of course." Jun Changshao hurriedly got up and walked out of the palace. On the wide platform below, there were tall and strong demonic army soldiers lined up neatly, as there were more than 1,000,000 of them, and they occupied the entire inner and outer courtyards of the Forbidden Grounds. They were even lined up outside the palace. The scene was simply spectacular. "Salute!" Guido, one of the 8 generals, shouted. Swoosh! Swoosh! The 1,000,000 soldiers placed one hand on their left chest and shouted, "Jun Patriarch is wise and virtuous. He will benefit the common people and live as long as the heavens." Their voices were so loud that it shook the heavens. To be able to shout such words, it was obviously Yao Minjing who taught them. She was indeed the apple of Jun Changshao's eye. This style was simply his little cotton-padded jacket. Go Sheng, who was standing in front of the palace, suddenly felt like he had turned into the emperor. Therefore, he closed his eyes and listened to their shouts with enjoyment. The corner of his mouth gradually raised into a smile that only villains would have. Ding! Congratulations to the host for completing the hidden mission, stealing people's beauty. The reward is 1,000,000 contribution points. Ding! Sect contribution points, XXX. Ding! Congratulations to the host for completing the hidden mission and triggering the hidden rewards. You have received Experience Talisman X5, Seal Opening Talisman 4, X1, Soul Tempering Sacred Celestial Art X1. Chapter 1522. The demon ancestor's innate saint devil body was taken away by Yao Minjing, and the 1,000,000 devil army that he cultivated 100,000 years ago was controlled by her. What did this mean? It meant that Jun Changshao had helped the sect of all times. Therefore, he met the conditions of plundering and completed the hidden mission. The contribution points given were not much, only 1,000,000. For the contribution system that was about to collapse, it was not worth mentioning at all. Only the 4th generation of opening seal talisman was not bad. As a trump card that had not been used yet, even if it was not used in the future, it could be used to exchange for money. Jun Changxiao was also happy to see the entire space ring stacked up. After all, one more meant one more layer of security. Typical wishful thinking. Ding! Soul tempering sacred heavenly art has been detected, automatically matching it with the Sect's cultivation technique. Soul tempering sacred heavenly art. Jun Changxiao merged into the space ring and held the yellowed secret manual in his hand. He immediately felt a strong historical aura and said, "This should be quite powerful." Opening the front page and reading the detailed introduction, Go Sheng was ecstatic. The soul-tempering sacred heavenly art was a martial art that strengthened the soul. Although the level was unknown, it was described that if one cultivated it to the peak, one's soul would be able to leave the body and soar into the sky. It's a bit similar to the Tianjun soul refining method, Jun Changxiao muttered. But this time it's definitely higher. There were not many martial arts related to the soul in the sect of all times. Now that he could match the sect's cultivation technique, he would definitely copy it in large quantities and let the disciples have one each. Moreover, Go Sheng had a very bold idea. If he cultivated the soul-tempering sacred heavenly art to the extreme and achieved the out-of-body state, would he be able to pilot the Diablo? Although the mech was very strong, if it encountered a strong enemy, it would definitely die. If he used his soul to control it instead of his body, even if it exploded, it would not endanger his disciple's life. The system was speechless. The host is planning to study the mech, can't I? Jun Changxiao asked. The system said, "First of all, the technology doesn't support it. This is not my problem. This is the problem of the Taishian elder in the array hall." Jun Changxiao said indifferently, "I am only responsible for coming up with the idea. They will solve the technical problems." Well done. Before the first toolman, Master Fan, could cry himself unconscious in the toilet, the second toolman had already been arranged. The sect of all times really doesn't keep idlers around. In fact, Jun Changxiao wanted to control Diablo with his soul for the sake of his disciples. After all, they were all his favorite disciples, and he couldn't bear to see them sacrifice themselves in the future. "Patriarch, are you going back?" Yao Minjing asked. Jun Changxiao shook his head and said, "Since the fiend ancestor has created a 1,000,000-strong army, he must have prepared plenty of resources. Before the troops and horses were mobilized, the rations and fodder had to be mobilized first." He really did not believe that there were no valuable things hidden in the vast demonic domain, such as mystical stones, ores, crystal cores, and so on. Girl asked Ghost 8 generals. "All right." Yao Minjing looked at Guido and asked, "Are there any supplies?" "Yes, master." Rumble. In a tunnel under the palace of the main city, the stone door blocking the road gradually opened. Strictly speaking, this was the treasury of the demonic tribe. As it was protected by layers upon layers of formations, it would be difficult to find it without a guide. "Calm down. I have to calm down." Jun Changxiao walked in as he thought to himself. The treasury of the demonic tribe must have countless treasures, so he had to work hard to control his emotions so that he would not pass out in embarrassment. The system sighed and said, "If the fiend ancestor revives and knows that everything has been taken away by the host, he will probably die on the spot." Inside the stone door was a huge palace, and the floor was very luxurious. This made Jun Changxiao even more excited. But, after he entered, his expression suddenly became sluggish. There was no mountain of mystical stones and treasures as he imagined, nor was there a dazzling sight. There were only scattered ores, which added up to less than 50 kilograms. "This," Jun Changxiao broke down and said, "this is the treasury." Guido said, 100,000 years ago, the demonic tribe used all the resources to build the army. Jun Changxiao broke down. It seemed that he was happy for nothing. Jun Changxiao's eyes locked on the shelf at the side of the palace, and found that there were many books on it. So he said happily, "Are all the martial arts of the demonic tribe here?" "Yes," Guido said. 100,000 years ago, he and the other 7 generals would definitely listen to the fiend ancestor. Now that they have revived, they would definitely listen to Yao Menjing. There was no other reason. Whoever had the complete innate saint demonic body would be their boss. This is not bad. Jun Changxiao walked over and flipped open a book. It was written in the language of the demonic tribe that he could not understand, so he kept it in his spatial ring and said, "System, if you have time, translate these secret manuals into simplified Chinese for me." Fuck. The system roared. I am not a tool. There were many secret manuals stored on the shelf. Since they were stored in the treasury, their level and quality should be extraordinary. He could take them to Yao Menjing for cultivation, and those that he did not need could be exchanged at the Technique Pavilion. Jun Changxiao took them all without hesitation. However, in the process, he found a book that was different from other martial skills, because it outlined the pattern of medicinal herbs. A secret manual related to medicinal pills? Jun Changxiao asked. The system said, yes. Jun Changxiao curiously turned to the first page and said, translate the content for me. The system tool came online, and after a short period of cracking, it said this is a pill recipe that has been passed down for a long time. It came from the ancestors of the demonic tribe. There is only one pill recipe recorded in it. One pill. Jun Changxiao was very disappointed. The system said, host, please take a deep breath and relax your mind. Why? Don't ask so many questions, hurry up. Huff. Jun Changxiao took a deep breath. The system said, the pill recipe is called First Transformation Quick Pill. After taking it, the user can instantly break through from the void-piercing realm to the First Transformation Core realm. After hearing this, Jun Changxiao said indifferently, that's it. That's it. Plop. Jun Changxiao's eyes rolled back, and he fainted on the ground in an enchanting posture. Sigh. The system said, I should have let him take a few more breaths. It was useless. Even if he breathed for an entire day, Jun Changxiao would still faint. After all, a pill that could instantly break through to the First Transformation Core realm was too explosive and too exaggerated. Master, Guido said weakly, Jun Patriarch has fainted again. Yao Menjing said calmly, it's normal. Carry him back. In fact, after discovering that the sealed soldier had the strength of the First Transformation, Jun Changxiao had thought that the demonic tribe's talent was too outstanding. Now the case was solved. It was not because their genes were outstanding, but because they had a pill that could raise one's realm. Fuck. After waking up, Jun Changxiao sat on the throne in the palace with his right leg crossed over his left leg. His left leg kept shaking as he said proudly, if I can refine it, the Sect's disciples will definitely be able to easily complete their first transformation. Host, you can't refine it. The system poured cold water on him in a timely manner. The ingredients needed to refine the First Transformation Quick Pill are all extremely toxic. Regular martial artists will immediately die after taking it, so it's only suitable for the demonic tribe. It's fine. Jun Changxiao clasped his fingers and said, this is not my problem. This is the problem of the medical hall and the pill hall. Chapter 1523. Lass, how do we get out? Unknowingly, it had been 10 days since they arrived at the demonic region. Jun Changxiao missed his disciple, so he decided to leave. Bah! The system spat. This was definitely not because it missed its disciple, but because all the good things inside had been taken away. Poor demonic ancestor. It was unknown if he could withstand the blow of losing everything after resurrection. Patriarch, Yao Menjing said, do we have to take the 1,000,000 soldiers away too? We have to. Jun Changxiao had already started to imagine the scene of him waving his arm and bringing the 1,000,000 soldiers to the foot of the mountains of the major sections. How could he leave them in the demonic region? Yao Menjing said worriedly, so many people going out will cause quite a commotion. Indeed. Jun Changxiao held his chin and started to think. The demonic tribe was hated by everyone in the upper realm. If they were all brought out, the most serious consequence would be alerting the 10 major sections. Go Sheng was now standing straight, but he would definitely not be willing to go head-to-head with this level of strength. Lass, Jun Changshao asked, can we still come in after we leave? Anytime, Yao Minjing said. Jun Changshao thought for a while and said, we can use part of the Tianyuan Prism Pagoda to bring them out. Come, let them relax their minds. Whoosh, whoosh. Under Yao Minjing's orders, General Gui Ba and the 20,000 soldiers of the demonic tribe were taken into the Tianyuan Prism Pagoda. Taking in 20,000 soldiers and sending out the million soldiers would definitely take many times. It was a little troublesome, but at least it could be done secretly. Lass, Jun Changshao said, let's go out. Okay. Yao Minjing stood on the spot. 2 red lights shot out from her eyes and merged into the sky, gradually tearing a small vortex. Let's go. Patriarch, should we bring the 9 who lost their innate demonic bodies? I almost forgot if you didn't mention it. Jun Changshao said, bring them all. Although the 5 men and 4 women had lost their innate devil bodies, their realms were still there. Other than the last one who was a little weak, the rest were all rank 5 or 6. They could be brought back to the sect to be nurtured. In that case, they were actually quite lucky. Of course, losing the innate demonic body was the same as losing a specialty, but giving it to Yao Minjing was better than giving it to the demon ancestor. Now that he could join the sect of all times, the benefits it would bring him in the future would be immeasurable. Swish! Outside the valley, 2 streams of light flew out from the vortex that had suddenly appeared. Patriarch! Li Qingyang and the others shouted. The senior disciples who came to rescue Yao Minjing, as well as the thousands of Diablo, were still waiting anxiously. Let's go. Jun Changshao said. Let's go back to the sect. Shwa! 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 Everyone summoned their rainbow wings of dazzling light, turned into streams of light, and disappeared. The vortex that originally appeared in the valley also gradually closed up. The entrance to the altar had been activated by the members of the Buried Moon Pavilion in the beginning, but it had disappeared after Jun Changshao and Yao Minjing had entered. However, the Great Guardian and the black-robed man were still waiting at the altar. This is strange. There has been no movement for so long. Why hasn't the seal of the demonic territory been lifted? Don't worry, the Great Guardian said calmly. After all, it has been sealed for 100,000 years. It will take time to completely lift it. Let's just wait patiently. Okay. The people of the Buried Moon Pavilion continued to wait at the altar, completely unaware that one of their own, Jun Changshao, had returned with a full load. He was singing loudly along the way. His beautiful voice reverberated in the sky, startling the birds, scaring away the beasts and collapsing the mountains. Swish! The streams of light near the West Sea suddenly disappeared. It's gone. The fiend ancestor has been resurrected. Jinren Tonggu and Masato Kitano, who were in the extreme cave abode, frowned. The phenomenon had appeared for several days. Now that it had suddenly disappeared, it was very likely that the fiend ancestor, who had fallen 100,000 years ago, had been successfully resurrected. Damn it! We have been deceived. The experts of the 10 major immortal sects who were in the area where the streams of light disappeared did not notice the phenomenon. They instantly realized that they might have been deceived by the fiend ancestor. His resurrection location was not here. That was right. It was not here. The resurrection location was in the dark blood pool. At this moment, the camera zoomed in on the black shadow that seemed to be painted on the wall had completely materialized. It was a body of 189 meters. Because he was not wearing any clothes, his muscles were prominent, and he looked very powerful. Huff! He lowered his head and breathed. My lord! The 4 black-robed elders knelt on the ground one after another, their faces filled with ecstasy. Crack! The naked man clenched his fists and then turned around, revealing an extremely cold face. He was very young. He was very cold. He looked like the Night Emperor back then. Wait a minute. Why did he use Yi Xingqian in his previous life as an analogy? It was so strange. The sphere placed on the stone platform had already lost its light, because the remnant soul inside had already merged with this muscular body. The fiend ancestor, the miserable fiend ancestor had finally been resurrected. Swish! At this moment, the blood in the pool suddenly gushed out, and then enveloped his body. It gradually condensed into an extraordinary battle armor, and also gave his pale skin a red color. Despicable girl! The completely resurrected fiend ancestor said angrily. How can I let you touch my innate saint fiend body? Puffed. As soon as he finished speaking, he spat out blood. Although it was because his soul and body had not completely merged, it was more because the physique that had accompanied him for his entire life had been snatched away by someone else. It was over. Losing a physique was enough to make him vomit blood. If he knew that the million fiend army and all kinds of forging facilities had been taken away, wouldn't he die of anger on the spot? The only fortunate thing was that because he had lost the complete innate saint fiend body, the fiend ancestor could not enter the fiend territory at will, so he would not know too much for the time being. My lord, the black-robed elder hurriedly said, you have just been resurrected, and your soul and body have not completely merged. You must not be so angry. Huff. The fiend ancestor sat down and calmed down. He said, although I have lost the innate saint fiend body, I just need to recuperate for a while to return to my peak state. As expected, Jun Changshao guessed correctly. Although this guy had been resurrected, his overall strength had decreased by a lot. Puffed. Suddenly, the fiend ancestor spat out blood again. In his plan after resurrecting, he would call back the 10 scattered innate saint fiend bodies. Although they might not reach their peak state immediately, they would at least improve to a decent level. But in the end, they were snatched away by someone else. The plan from 100,000 years ago was exchanged for the grievance after being resurrected. The more he thought about it, the angrier and more hurt he got. The fiend ancestor covered his face and said sadly, it's too hard for me. Sect of all times. After Jun Changshao returned, he immediately called Jin Dijuan and ordered him to set up an extremely hidden isolation array in the ancient celestial mountain as soon as possible. A large number of fiend army members gathered together would form a super strong fiend chi, so they had to do a good job in shielding it. Yes, Jin Dijuan led the members of the array hall and started to get busy. Soon, a large forest in the north of the sect was covered by a stream of light array and then hidden. After settling down Ghost 8 generals and 20,000 fiend army soldiers, Jun Changshao came to the forging peak and saw Fan Yezi sitting on a deck chair, sunbathing with a pot of tea beside him. He smiled innocently and said, Hall Master Fan, you are quite relaxed. Chapter 1524. In the hall of the Foundry Hall, Fan Yezi leaned half of his body on the table and lifted one leg up like a dragonfly skimming the water. Jun Changshao sat next to him and sipped his tea. Unbelievable. It's really unbelievable. After a while, Fan Yezi finally moved his entire face away from the drawing. Then with a look of shock he withdrew his strange posture and stood in place. As an expert in foundry, although he couldn't understand the Moang language, he could tell from the drawing that this was definitely an excellent armor. I will translate the text. Jun Changshao put down his teacup and said, do you have the confidence to create it according to the drawing? Fan Yezi was silent for a while and said seriously, Patriarch, the armor designed by this drawing must be extraordinary. If I don't have the corresponding materials, it will be difficult for me to make it. There was no problem to draw according to the drawing. However, if he just made it according to the drawing and couldn't show the real ability, it would be a complete waste of time. Don't worry, Jun Changshao said. This is my problem, not yours. The meaning was obvious. You are responsible for making the armor according to the drawing, and leave the materials to me. So don't mock Go Sheng for using the sect as a tool. In fact, since he inherited the iron bone, he was the tool. No problem. Master Fan took a sip of his tea. As long as the Patriarch provided the materials, he was still very confident. What about 100,000 sets? Pfft. Fan Yezi spat out his tea and didn't bother to wipe it. He stared and said, the Patriarch wants to make 100,000 sets of armor like this? Yes. Hall Master Fan suddenly felt a little dizzy. The birth of a piece of equipment required a lot of tempering. The level of the armor on the drawing must be high. but it would take a long time to produce. If he made 100,000 sets, he would have to spend the rest of his life forging. Patriarch, Fan Yezi said bitterly, I can't do it alone. Follow me. Jun Changshao got up and took him to the open space behind the hall. He waved his hand and took out several foundry tables. He said, with these tools you should be able to speed up the forging, right? Fan Yezi was dumbfounded. Oh my god, where did the Patriarch find so many forging tables for equipment? After all, Hall Master Fan was an expert in forging. He hurriedly walked over and examined the forging halls from a professional point of view. He exclaimed, top-grade forging facilities. Jun Changshao said, these casting tables will be placed at Foundry Peak. I still have many books on casting. I will send them over once I have translated them. All right, Fan Yezi said with a burning gaze. The next day, with the hard work of the systems tool, the blueprints and forging books were all translated and sent to the forging hall. Fan Yezi began to research wholeheartedly, forgetting to eat and sleep. He completely forgot that he had only rested for 2 to 3 days after he finished making the parts. Luckily, Yao Menjing was able to control the million-strong devil army. Otherwise, Hall Master Fan would definitely have another heavy responsibility, and that was to modify all their battle armors to fit the standards of disciples. After arranging the first tool, Jun Changshao went to Array Formation Peak. Brat, the Taishian old man frowned and said, you're definitely up to no good. What a painful realization. Master. Jun Changshao grinned and said, your disciple has a good idea. Do you want to hear it? The Taishian old man asked. What idea? Undeniably, after joining the sect of all times, this guy had arranged a lot of work for him. However, without the former Bamboo Mountain No. 1 would not have been able to be improved in all aspects, let alone be mass-produced. As a technical geek, his thoughts were all on the mech naturally. He would be more willing to see the product continuously upgraded until it shone brightly in the upper realm. This was because it would give him a great sense of accomplishment. Master. Jun Changshao sat down and said, our sect has an ancient martial art called the sacred heavenly art of soul tempering. When cultivated to the extreme, one's soul can leave the body and soar into the sky. The Taishian old man said impatiently, I thought your idea had something to do with the mech martial arts. He was not interested. It has something to do with it. Jun Changshao said, I plan to let my disciple cultivate it. When he reaches the level of leaving the body, can he use it to pilot the Diablo? Upon hearing this, the Taishian old man's eyes widened. Using the soul to pilot the mech, this was a crazy idea. Moreover, the Taishian old man frowned and said, since you can control it, why use the soul? Isn't this superfluous? Jun Changshao said, the soul tempered by the sacred heavenly art of soul tempering is actually similar to a clone. Even if it is destroyed, it will not cause fatal damage. What I mean is to let the soul control it. At least in the future, when you encounter danger, you won't implicate your disciple. Is it that magical? The Taishian old man was stunned. Although he did not pay attention to martial arts, he still knew that a setback to the soul was often more serious than a setback to the body. It could even cause the soul to disperse. What sacred heavenly art could condense a soul clone? This was too shocking. Have you cultivated to the level of leaving the body? No. The Taishian old man broke down and said, how do you want me to modify it? Simple. Jun Changshao said, modify all the formations in the mech so that it can be controlled by the soul. The Taishian old man really wanted to kick this guy into his wife's bed. Modifying the formations to control the soul was not something that could be done just by opening his mouth. Without a few years or decades, without a few chapters or dozens of chapters, how could it be modified so easily? Master. Jun Changshao got up and said, I'll leave this matter to you. I'm going to deal with the internal affairs. You. Seeing that guy leave, the Taishian old man was angry. But after a while, he touched his chin and thought, it seems a little interesting to use the soul to control the mech technology could only be improved through continuous research and innovation. So Jun Changshao's idea provided him with a new way of thinking. Ding! The second tool was in place. In the medical hall, Elder Wei carefully studied the 1 rotation speed pill formula translated by the system, and said solemnly, "Patriarch, the herbs listed here are highly toxic just by the name. Can you grow them?" Jun Changshao asked. Elder Wei fell into a short silence. He had always dealt with conventional herbs, but he had never grown poisonous herbs before. "It shouldn't be a problem, but," Elder Wei said worriedly, "Patriarch, what do you plan to do with these highly toxic herbs?" "Pills." "No, it's too dangerous." Jun Changshao did not explain. He simply said a few words and left. Ding! The third tool was in place. Speaking of poison, naturally, he could not forget Miao Saifeng. So Jun Changshao went to the poison hall and took out a copy of the pill formula, saying, "Hall Master Miao, if the herbs listed here are refined into pills, is there a way to remove the poison?" The pills were poisonous. Just remove the poison. It was no big deal. "It can't be removed," Miao Saifeng said with certainty. Just as Jun Changshao was disappointed, she added, "But according to the poison, you can refine the corresponding antidote to remove it." "Is that so?" Gou Sheng was suddenly hopeful. He said, "I'll leave the refining of the corresponding antidote to you." Ding! The fourth tool was in place. After making the arrangements, Jun Changshao returned to Dragon Head Peak. On the way, he was thinking carefully. Was there anything he had not arranged after returning from Moang region? Were there any idle members in the faction? At this time, Gou Sheng saw a disciple cleaning Diablo, so he shouted at the top of his lungs, "Jing Shi, this mech number 66 is almost ruined by you. Go clean the toilet quickly." "Yes." Chapter 1525. After the Patriarch made the arrangements, the various halls started to get busy. Of course, as the pillar of the sect of all times, Jun Changshao would not be idle for tea, because he still had to bring back the remaining soldiers from the demonic territory. "Girl, let's go." "Okay." Without even resting, Jun Changshao took Yao Minjing to the ancient warship and flew out of the sect. No one could enter the demonic territory, so why waste energy? The reason was that the stream of light in the west dissipated, which might mean that the demon ancestor was resurrected. So they had to bring back all the soldiers as soon as possible to prevent any unforeseen events. Needless to say, Jun Changshao's worries were not unfounded. After the demon ancestor was resurrected, he did not immediately go into seclusion to recuperate, but instead, he thought about how to enter the demonic territory. That girl has fused with my physique, so she will definitely need time to adapt. So I have to get ahead of her and control the million demonic army. Sigh. Poor guy. He was still fantasizing about how no one would dare to disobey him with a wave of his arm. Whoosh. In the demonic territory, Yao Minjing brought Jun Changshao in again. As usual, 20,000 demonic army soldiers were kept in the Tianyuan prison pagoda, then sent to the sect of all times. Area, Zhao Daodu and Dai Lu were depressed. 20,000 of them came in, and 20,000 of them went out. At least let them torture them for a while to satisfy their cravings. Impossible, impossible. The buried Moon Pavilion branch leader, who was tied up, looked at the 2 to 3 meters tall soldiers wearing excellent armor, his eyes flashing with disbelief. He and his organization had been working hard to unseal the demonic territory and awaken the demonic army sealed in it. Now that they suddenly appeared in front of them in batches, it was definitely unimaginable. Because the Tianyuan prison pagoda was used for the transfer. In the next half a month, soldiers were sent to the ancient immortal mountain one after another without being known by the world. Of course, the entire upper realm was not in the mood to care about the sect of all times, because they were all discussing whether the demon ancestor was resurrected. That's not right. In the extreme cavern, Masato Katana was puzzled. If the demon ancestor is resurrected, he should take action. Why hasn't he done anything in the past half a month? It's better if there's no movement. Jinren Tonggu rolled his eyes and said, "Do you still want to watch the upper realm fall into chaos?" AI. Masato Katano shook his head. "I'm afraid this is the calm before the storm. The resurrection of the demonic ancestor had nothing to do with the itinerant cultivators. After all, it was the top 10 celestial sects and various clans that destroyed the demonic tribe. However, if they were to cause a ruckus, they would inevitably be implicated. Hence, they hoped that the world would be peaceful. Don't think too much. Jumren Tonggu placed a chess piece down and said, "Everything has its own set of rules. All we can do is wait and see." Even so. But, Masato Katana roared. "You bastard, you secretly switched the pieces again." Strange. In the palace of the Ling Yao Wonderland, the stooped old man was puzzled. The black light has dissipated for half a month. If the demon ancestor is resurrected, why hasn't there been any movement? Seated on the throne, Empress Ling Yao said, "He should be very weak after being resurrected. Perhaps he's recuperating." "My lord," the stooped old man said, "the realm hall has summoned you several times. Are you still not going?" This empress is following their orders to hunt down the traitor Gu Zhaoxi. Whoosh! Empress Ling Yao stood up and said, "Master has arranged a 10-year promise for me. If there's nothing else, do not disturb this empress closed-door cultivation." "My lord," the stooped old man said, "Jun Changshao is not that strong. Why take him so seriously?" Empress Ling Yao stopped and said, "In the upper realm, anyone can be underestimated but not him. Otherwise, Jin Hao would not have lost to him twice." The stooped old man's expression became serious. Jun Changshao had severely injured Jin Hao as soon as he ascended. Then, he tortured Jin Hao in the Ironwood Forest. This Jun Changshao was indeed not to be underestimated. Who knows? He might even be qualified to fight against their lord on the day of the battle. 2 months later, Jun Changshao finally brought the million Moang soldiers back to the sect of all times. Li Qingyang and Pei Qi were not idle either. They built barracks, drill grounds, and other facilities for them to live in. Phew! Jun Changshao leaned against the chair in the study and let out a sigh of relief. Finally, they're all here. 20,000 a day, running back and forth and lying down. However, this was worth it. 1 million revolving core realm cultivators were all placed in the ancient immortal mountain. This gave him a lot of confidence. Sword Mystic Sect, Sword Mystic Sect. Jun Changshao propped his legs on the table and said proudly, "Come at me if you dare." The system was speechless. "If you have the ability, go and make a fuss in front of the true sect and Dao sect. Vent your anger on the mystic sect. What kind of hero are you?" As the million Moang soldiers could be directly controlled by Yao Menjing, Jun Changshao did not let them enter the sect after bringing them back. After all, there were too many people. Of course, the 5 men and 4 women could not escape. Ghost 8 generals could not escape. Pa! After the sect seal was placed, the number of disciples in the sect of all times increased from 100,001 to 100,018. Speaking of which, ever since he ascended to the upper realm, the sect did not recruit many disciples. It seemed that Sun Muching was the only one. Of course, it was related to Jun Changshao's development strategy. The main storyline mission in the upper realm only required the sect to reach the immortal level. However, there was no limit to the number of disciples. Therefore, he preferred to go the elite route. After all, 1 more disciple meant 1 more resource consumption. Count Minjing in. Jun Changshao said, "Our sect of all times has a total of 9 truth-seeking realm cultivators. We should be worthy of being a Xian-level sect, right?" "Not worthy," the system said. "Why?" "Because the host is too weak." These words stabbed Jun Changshao's heart hard. According to the assessment of the sects in the Falling Star continent, if the patriarch's cultivation did not meet the requirements, it would definitely be difficult for him to increase his level. Fortunately, Go Sheng had cheated all the way and did not drag the sect down. Now it was dragging it down. "No," Jun Changshao said. "I need to confirm the level of the Xian-level sect." The sects in the upper realm did not have a certification agency, so it was impossible to determine what was qualified. However, he could use other sects as a reference. For example, he could go to the Sword Mystic Sect or the Sword Mystic Sect. "Girl," Jun Changshao said telepathically, "hurry up and let the Ghost 8 generals cultivate the hidden cultivation technique." Then, follow me to visit the Xian-level sect. The 5 men and 4 women, who had lost their connate demonic bodies, were just demonic cultivators. They would not arouse suspicion if they were brought out. However, the 8 generals could not because they were members of the Moang clan. They had to suppress their pure demonic energy at all times, and not be discovered. Someone asked, what about their height? As long as the demonic energy was completely suppressed, it would not be a problem. After all, even basketball players could grow to more than 2 meters tall. Wasn't it normal for humans to have a few tall people? What about their appearance? It was fine. There was still the face-changing mask. To put it bluntly, there were experts at the truth-seeking realm in the sect. If he did not go out and have some fun, Jun Changxiao would feel uncomfortable. Dang, 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 dang. One day, under the heroic background music, Jun Changxiao walked out of the hall, with a mink coat and sunglasses. Yao Minjing stood on the martial arts field in a tight black suit. Behind her, 8 truth-seeking realm ghost generals stood in a row in black suits with their hands behind their backs. This scene was very social. Swish! Jun Changxiao raised his hand and glanced at the XX brand watch from Switzerland. He said, the time is just right. Let's go. Under the gaze of the upper echelons and disciples, Go Sheng led Yao Minjing, the Ghost 8 generals, and the 5 men and 4 women onto the ancient battlefield. Then, they flew out of the Aeon Immortal Mountain and toward the Sword Mystic Sect. From the looks of it, it was really hard to understand whether they were going to visit or settle old scores. Chapter 1526. Phew! In the cold snow, Jun Changxiao exhaled a breath of hot air. His eyes were filled with memories of the past. Yao Minjing walked down from the warship and looked at the white surroundings. She was puzzled. Patriarch, why did you stop? Because, Jun Changxiao said, this is where I first came to the upper world. On September 9th, year 12028 of the Starfall calendar, Gosheng ascended to the upper world with the help of the Heaven and Earth Creation Array. He landed here in the territory of the Sword Control Mystic Sect. I see. Yao Minjing didn't say anything else. She gave the patriarch time to reminisce. When Jun Changxiao first came to the upper world, he had a conflict with the Sword Control Mystic Sect here. In the end, he stole their flying sword and hadn't returned it. In fact, Gosheng wasn't wrong to barge into their territory. After all, he was randomly teleported here. He couldn't do anything about it. Moreover, he apologized, but the other party didn't intend to let it go. That was why the conflict intensified. What about this time? Knowing that this was the territory of the Sword Control Mystic Sect, he still forcefully broke the array and swaggered in with the warship. He was obviously looking for trouble. No, I'm here to visit. You set up an array at the entrance. If I don't break it, how can I enter? Swish, swish. One after another, streams of light flew over. Obviously, the Sword Control Mystic Sect also realized that the array was broken and sent a large number of disciples over. Just like last time, they were filled with anger. The territory was deliberately surrounded, which meant that no one was allowed to enter without permission. In the end, someone dared to break the array. He was definitely challenging the authority of the Mystic Sect. You must have eaten a bear's heart and leopard's guts to barge into my Imperial Sword Mysterious Sect. You must be severely punished. The disciples of the Flying Sword Sect cursed as they flew over. When they arrived at the scene, they saw the ancient warship proudly floating in the snow. When they saw Jun Changxiao with a mink fur draped over his shoulders, the anger on their faces immediately turned into shock and fear. It's him, the patriarch of the sect of all times. Everyone. A harmless smile appeared on Jun Changxiao's face. He said, I'm here again. Do you welcome me? Welcome my ass. The Sword Control Mystic Sect had been very low-key recently. They were so low-key that they seemed to be disconnected from the world. Why? This was because the person who had trespassed into the Earth domain and sent people to hunt him down to Fengqi Celestial Mountain had a master named Jinren Tonggu. This was a big shot that he could not afford to offend. This was especially so when the top experts from various races and factions gathered at the sect of all times. They spent every day in fear, afraid that that guy would suddenly come looking for trouble. Fortunately, 3 years had passed, but the other party still hadn't come. It was as if they had forgotten about the grudge between them. Everyone. Inside the main hall of the Imperial Sword Sect, the patriarch, Qiao Baisho, said with a solemn expression, "I've been feeling uneasy recently. I'm afraid this is an ominous sign." Several elders said in unison, "We also have the same feeling." Patriarch. At this moment, a cry of alarm came from outside the hall. Someone has trespassed into the sect. Qiao Baisho and the other elders hurriedly walked out and saw a battleship flying towards them from the mountain gate. It hovered above the training grounds, and when the light faded, the words ancient battleship could be seen clearly. It's over. That guy came looking for them. At this moment, Qiao Baisho and the other elders finally understood why they had been feeling uneasy recently. They could hide for a while, but they could not hide forever. Patriarch Qiao. Jun Changshao appeared at the bow of the ship and cupped his fists. "I missed you after parting at Lingfeng Mountain, so I came to visit you today." Ignoring the fact that he forcefully broke into the formation earlier, this guy was actually quite polite. Qiao Baisho's expression was very ugly. Flying a battleship above his own sect, such an arrogant behavior. Was he not here to cause trouble? The higher-ups were also very angry, but they did not dare to say anything. After all, this guy's aura was not weaker than theirs. Xian-type sects higher-ups were generally at rank 2 or 3, so Jun Changshao, who was at rank 7, could intimidate them even if he did not bring any disciples with him. "Jun Patriarch," Qiao Baisho said solemnly, "isn't it a little inappropriate for you to visit like this? Your master is Jinren Tonggu, you are amazing. But my Imperial Sword Mystic Sect is still a Xian-type sect in the upper world. How can we let you humiliate us like this?" Swish. Swish. At this time, several sword lights flew from the battleship. Qiao Baisho and the other elders thought that the other party was using some kind of sword technique, so they quickly unleashed their cultivation. Clang. 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 The Imperial Sword Mystic Sect members gathered around the battle stage also took out their weapons. All kinds of special effects gathered on their swords, causing the atmosphere to turn solemn. But the result? The sword lights did not attack anyone, they only stabbed into the ground outside the hall. After the light dissipated, several swords were revealed. Patriarch Qiao, Jun Changshao said, "When this seat first came to the upper world, I am indebted to your sect for giving me these flying swords. Today, I am here to return them." Qiao Baisho almost vomited blood. "These flying swords were clearly stolen by you. Our sect did not give them to you at all." Jun Chang said with a smile, "Borrowing a sword to return a sword is one thing. You chasing me to kill me is another." So, he leaped onto the training field and said with a smile, "We still need to calculate clearly." As expected, he was here to cause trouble. When he did not have the strength, he could only hide. Now that he had the strength to back it up, it was definitely not Jun Changshao's style. "Sigh," the system said. The host's feet left the ground again. Patriarch Qiao. Qiao Baisho frowned. "On Lingfeng Mountain, you said that the grudges between our sects are over." "That's right," Jun Changshao said frankly. "This seat did say that. But," he paused for a moment before continuing with a smile, "if I remember correctly, Sect Master Qiao seemed to have mentioned when he first came to Spirit Peak Mountain that there are many debts between our two sects that have yet to be settled." Qiao Baisho could see that this guy was planning to act shamelessly and deliberately make things difficult for the Imperial Sword Mystic Sect. Jun Changshao, one of the higher-ups, finally couldn't hold it in anymore and shouted, "Don't bully." His voice stopped abruptly, because Yao Minjing suddenly appeared in front of him and lightly raised her small hand. Throughout the whole process, she did not release any aura, and looked very weak. Boom! The Imperial Sword Mystic Sect's elder flew out of the hall like a cannonball, then fainted 1,000 feet away with his right face swollen. "Who dares to call my patriarch by his name again?" Yao Minjing clapped her hands, her eyes flashed with coldness. "The result is death." She had completely inherited the innate Saint Devil body, and did not purposely release any demonic qi. But her gaze and words were extremely terrifying, causing Qiao Baisho and the others to shiver. Ta! Jun Changshao floated down from the warship and smiled. Patriarch Qiao, your elder is unruly, so it is reasonable for my disciple to teach him a lesson, right? Jun Patriarch, Qiao Baisho shouted angrily. Considering that your teacher is Jinren Tonggu, this seat has been patient and patient, but don't think that the Imperial Sword Mystic Sect is that easy to bully. Jun Changshao smiled and said, from what you said, it sounds like you have another trick up your sleeve? Shua. Qiao Baisho took out an exquisite jade token and said coldly, do you know what this is? What is it? This is an honorary sect badge issued by the Jia Hall. If your sect is in danger, you will receive the Jia Hall's unconditional protection. TSK. Jun Changshao snorted. Chapter 1527. When a sect was recognized by the Realm Hall, they would receive an honorary badge. To be honest, the badge was not worth much, but the advantage was that if the sect was in danger, the Realm Hall would provide help to avert the disaster. Therefore, all the major sects hoped to receive a badge and a protective talisman. Due to the strict requirements, there were not many sects that received a badge. Coincidentally, the Sword Mystic Sect was one of them. This time, someone had brazenly come to their territory to cause trouble, which met the requirements for a sect to be in danger. They could directly use the badge to escape danger. Even taking it out would be a deterrent. Unfortunately, the one who came to cause trouble was Jun Changshao. This guy disliked the Realm Hall, since he was in the lower realm. After knowing the use of the badge, he did not care at all. In fact, if the badge could be used to contact allies, Gosheng might show some respect. However, if the Realm Hall was involved, who was he trying to scare? Qiao Baisho also knew that Jun Changshao had his master's protection, so he might not be afraid of the Realm Hall. Therefore, the reason he took it out was not to scare him, but to put himself in a disadvantageous position, so that he would be on the right side. I lost to you on Lingfeng Mountain. We agreed to let go of our grudges, but you came to cause trouble again? He did not believe that Jinren Tonggu, who was extremely famous in the upper realm, would allow his disciple to cause trouble without reason. When he was stronger, he would do whatever he wanted, but when he was weaker, he would start to reason. Sure enough, a world where martial arts were respected was so realistic. Jun Patriarch, Qiao Baisho said coldly, as long as you crush this badge, the Realm Hall will definitely send someone. When that happens, your master Jinren Tonggu will be the one to lose face. It's fine, Jun Changshao said. My master is naturally carefree and indifferent to fame and fortune. He has no sense of shame. If Jinren Tonggu heard this, he would probably take off his shoes and smack him in the face with the sole of his shoe. He would also curse. You may be shameless, but I am. Qiao Baisho was depressed. Should he crush it or not? To be honest, the badge was a one-time use item. Once it was crushed, it would be gone. Should I negotiate with him again to see if I can minimize this matter? Wait, where's my token? Qiao Baisho, who was deep in thought, suddenly realized that the Medal of Honor in his hand was gone. He hurriedly raised his head and saw Jun Changshao fiddling with it. Today, I will show you what the Jia Hall can do to me. Pa! The token instantly shattered. She actually took the initiative to pinch him. Swish! At this moment, the shattered token seemed to have triggered some kind of restriction. Suddenly, a scarlet light spurted out and continued to fly into the sky. It seemed to have the power to pierce through the heavens and the earth. A signal gun? Jun Changshao raised his head and asked. Scarlet light. Someone crushed the Medal of Honor and summoned the Realm Hall for protection. This position seems to be the Imperial Sword Profound Sect. The red light pierced through the clouds, immediately startling all the martial artists in the upper realm and causing a huge commotion. Many people knew about the Medal of Honor, but it was almost never used when it was given to the sect, because those who wanted to cause trouble would be afraid of the Jia Hall after seeing it. Who has the guts to attack a sect protected by the Jia Hall? The Medal of Honor would only be crushed in an absolute crisis. Could it be that the Imperial Sword Profound Sect is in danger? Let's go and take a look. Swish, swish. All the martial artists in the area closest to the red light began to move. Even many sects could not sit still. The distress signal from the Imperial Sword Profound Sect flew up. This was a black-level sect. If someone ignored the Jia Hall and came looking for trouble, the matter must be very serious. Naturally, they could not miss it. Curiosity. This was a common problem among humans. In the extreme cave abode, Jimren Tonggu, who was playing chess, noticed the red light and said in surprise, "A sect is asking for help from the Jia Hall. A sect that can get the Medal of Honor must be a black-level sect. Who has the guts to cause trouble?" Masato Kitano said. "Don't be distracted," Jimren Tonggu said. "Continue playing chess. As long as it was not the demon ancestor who came out to cause trouble, nothing was worth mentioning to him." Swish, swish. At the headquarters of the Jia Hall, the moment the red light rose, a large group of martial artists flew out and headed toward the Imperial Sword Profound Sect. Jun Changshao sat on a chair prepared by Ghost Fight and crossed his legs in a carefree manner. Since the black-level sect thought that they were protected by the Jia Hall, he would show them today. As long as he wanted to settle the score, no one could stop him. Go Sheng was not only arrogant, but he was also almost standing shoulder to shoulder with the sun. Xiao Baisho's expression was extremely ugly. He never thought that the other party would snatch the Medal of Honor and crush it. Or was it that with Jimren Tonggu's protection, this guy thought that he was invincible in the world? Humph. As long as the Imperial Sword Profound Sect was in the right, it did not matter if you had a powerful master. Jun Changshao and Xiao Baisho had different attitudes. Therefore, the scene that appeared was that everyone was waiting for the Jia Hall to arrive. Of course, many martial artists around had already arrived. Although they did not enter the Imperial Sword Profound Sect, when they saw that the boundary outside was broken, they were immediately sure that the newcomers were not friendly. No wonder this black-level sect would crush the medal. Who is it? Everyone released their spiritual senses. Soon, they saw a warship floating above the Imperial Sword Profound Sect. The archaic warship. It's the patriarch of the sect of all times. I've long heard that these two sects have a grudge. Could it be that they are here to cause trouble? They have already forced the Imperial Sword Profound Sect to crush the medal. In my opinion, they are here to destroy the sect. The sect of all times has just ascended to the upper world. Could it be that they already have the ability to destroy a black-level sect? After confirming that it was Jun Changshao who had barged into the Imperial Sword Profound Sect, everyone started a heated discussion. At the same time, their hearts were filled with admiration. He had just destroyed the Fuqian sect recently, and now he had forced a black-level sect to seek help from the Jia Hall. This Jun Changshao was indeed someone who could achieve great things. Whoosh, whoosh. At this moment, streams of light flew over from the sky. The Jia Hall's people are here. Damn, there are at least 100 of them. As expected of a sect that is heavily protected, they immediately came to help when they encountered danger. The Imperial Sword Profound Sect. Jun Changshao also noticed that a large group of martial artists was rapidly approaching. Thus he smiled faintly and said, "They are quite fast." Xiao Baisho heaved a sigh of relief. As long as the Jia Hall's people arrived, the sect would be absolutely safe. Jun Patriarch. Xiao Baisho said indifferently, "Actually, the conflict between our sects originated from a misunderstanding. We might be able to resolve it if we talk calmly. There is no need to make things difficult for both sides." "Sorry." Jun Changshao rubbed his nose and smiled. "You are the one who is embarrassed, not me." Whoosh, whoosh. At this moment, the Jia Hall's martial artists streaked across the sky and flew towards the Imperial Sword Profound Patriarch's palace. From the aura they emitted, their strength seemed to be between rank 8 and rank 9. Our sect of all times is resolving the conflict in the pugilistic world. No forces or organizations are allowed to interfere. Those who violate. Jun Changshao's voice resounded through the sky. The martial artists outside pricked up their ears to listen. Then they heard boom-boom sounds. Then, they saw the Jia Hall's experts who were flying over were sent flying back like cannonballs. Some crashed into the stone walls, while others crashed into the forest. All of you have to scram. Jun Changxiao finally said what he wanted to say. The camera panned upwards from his angle. The Ghost 8 generals were suspended in different positions and had their fists clenched. It was clear that the Jiahal's experts were sent flying by them. The process was as simple as bouncing a rubber ball. Powerful. Too powerful. At this moment Jimren Tonggu, who was in the extreme cave abode, felt a trace of discomfort. However, he did not take it to heart and continued to play chess with Masato Kitano shamelessly. P.S. I, who is naturally free and indifferent to fame and fortune, weakly begs for your vote. Chapter 1528. The Realm Hall's Rank 8 and Rank 9 experts were the first to fly over, but they were also the first to be sent flying back. They collapsed in various postures in the wilderness and sunk into the stone walls. The surrounding martial artists were stunned. That was an ancient martial art practitioner sent by the Jia Hall. Regardless of whether he was strong or weak, he represented absolute authority. Yet, he had been mercilessly thrown out. Xiao Baisho, who had just heaved a sigh of relief, widened his eyes. In the short time that the Realm Hall had appeared, he had imagined many scenarios. For example, the Realm Hall would negotiate with Jun Changxiao after they landed, which would make him leave in fear. However, he had never expected that the Realm Hall would attack before they even landed. Arrogant. Too arrogant. Jun Changxiao clasped his fingers and said, "If you think that the Realm Hall can protect you, then you are gravely mistaken." His tone was very calm, but it made Xiao Baisho break out in cold sweat. That guy's sharp eyes were frightening, as if he was a complete madman. Swoosh. Swoosh. The Realm Hall martial artists who had arrived later stopped outside the Sword Control Mystic Sect. Their expressions were both angry and fearful. They had seen their comrade being sent flying, and they had also heard Jun Changxiao's words. Thus they looked like they wanted to go in, but their bodies were very honest as they stood outside. If the enemy did not move, they would not move. Jun Changxiao, an expert with a position in the Realm Hall, said in a low voice, "What do you mean?" He had been there when the various races attacked the sect of all times, so he did not need to see the ancient worship to recognize Jun Changxiao immediately. "Don't you understand?" Go Sheng said indifferently. "I am dealing with the grudges of the pugilistic world. The Sword Control Mystic Sect is now under the protection of the Realm Hall. No sect is allowed to make things difficult for us." That expert shouted. The 8 tall and strong martial artists hovering above the sect were very strong, and he was very wary. However, since he was here, and there were so many martial artists, he could not show any weakness. "Sorry," Jun Changxiao said. "This sect has offended me before. Not to mention the Realm Hall. Even the heavens cannot protect it." "Girl, smash this sect's signboard for me." Go Sheng had originally planned to extort some money and leave. After all, it was better to squash enmity than to keep it alive. However, since the Jia Hall had been alerted, there was no harm in escalating the issue to a very serious level. "Yes." Yao Minjing leaped up and condensed her power into a giant hand, grabbing at the plaque that had been hanging on the main hall for a long time. Xiao Baisho and the others' expressions changed drastically. The plaque engraved with the words "Mysterious Sword Sect" represented the sect's reputation, just like the main hall. If the sect of all times smashed this plaque, it would be equivalent to trampling on the sect's dignity. Stop it. He had to stop it. Although Xiao Baisho and the others wanted to, they didn't have the strength to do so. They could only watch as Yao Minjing reached for the plaque as fast as she could. "Girl, don't be impudent." Hoo-hoo. A powerful aura surged from the back mountain of the Imperial Sword Mysterious Sect. An old man flew out at an extremely fast speed. His withered palm gathered the power of the true spirit, and directly welcomed the power released by Yao Minjing. Boom! A muffled sound was heard. Swoosh! Yao Minjing landed on the battle stage, while the old man who appeared staggered in front of the main hall, almost falling to the ground. Supreme Elder! Xiao Baisho and the others were overjoyed. As a mysterious sword sect, their strength might only be ranked 2 or 3 on the surface, but there were definitely older generation experts hiding behind them. This mysterious sword sect elder was not weak. He had already reached rank 8. If not for Yao Minjing threatening the sect's dignity, he would definitely not have come out of seclusion. June Patriarch, Supreme Elder said in a heavy tone. Since our sects have a grudge, why don't we discuss it peacefully? Discuss? Jun Changshao smiled. I want 1 billion profound stones. Will your mysterious sword sect give it to me? Of course. Supreme Elder said decisively. This sentence not only stunned Xiao Baisho, it also stunned Jun Changshao. As the saying goes, it is better to squash enmity than keep it alive, Supreme Elder said. Since Jun Patriarch said 1 billion, my mysterious sword sect will naturally give it to you. Supreme. Xiao Baisho was just about to speak when he was interrupted. If you still recognize me as your martial uncle, then quickly shut your mouth. Patriarch Xiao was silent. Although he was the leader of Mysterious Sword Sect, Supreme Elder was still his martial uncle. He was only able to hold his position back then because of his help. Jun Changshao was depressed. I was just casually saying it. Why did he cooperate with me? If I knew earlier, I would have asked for 10 billion. The reinforcements of Boundary Hall were also depressed. Didn't you crush your honor badges, so that we could come and help? Now that we are here, you want to spend money to settle the matter. Are you playing house? Are you kidding me? Jun Patriarch. Supreme Elder said. 1 billion profound stones is not a small sum. We need time to gather it, so please wait for a moment. No sir, you're too cooperative. You've made the villainous atmosphere that I've spent so much effort to cultivate completely useless. All right, Jun Changshao said. I will wait. The other party was already like this. If he continued to make things difficult, it would be very unkind. What are you waiting for? Supreme Elder glared at Xiao Baisho and scolded. Hurry up and get the profound stones. No matter how unwilling Xiao Baisho was, since his martial uncle said so, he could only give a few elders a look. 1 billion profound stones was indeed not a small sum, and it would take some time to gather it. Jun Changshao could afford to wait, and since he had nothing to do, he said, I can tell that this senior is an outstanding person with a single glance. As the saying goes, a wise man submits to circumstances. Jun Patriarch is leading a sect at such a young age. He can be considered a hero from the youth. Supreme Elder said with a smile. The two chatted casually, causing the Boundary Hall experts to stand outside the mountain gate with red faces. Damn it! The mysterious sword sect crushed their honor badges on purpose to make us look bad? 15 minutes later, Xiao Baisho took out the 1 billion profound stones and looked at the Grand Elder with tears in his eyes. He seemed to be saying, Martial Uncle, if we give this large sum of money to others, our sect will only be able to eat tree bark in the future. What are you looking at? Hurry up and give it to Jun Patriarch. Xiao Baisho clenched his teeth and threw spatial rings filled with profound stones at Qin Lai with an extremely pained heart. He looked extremely much like a little wife who had been greatly wronged. After Jun Changshao took inventory, he cupped his hands and said, From today onwards, the Sect of All Times and the Mysterious Sword Sect have cleared all debts. Farewell. Whoosh, whoosh. He brought Yao Minjing and the others back to the ancient warship and flew away under everyone's gaze. It's over? I thought they would fight. The martial practitioners who were watching the show were a little frustrated that they couldn't watch the battle. Deacon, a Boundary Hall martial practitioner said in a low voice. What should we do? The person in charge of the Boundary Hall who had been awkwardly floating in midair glared at Xiao Baisho and shouted, Go home and sleep. Whoosh, whoosh. 100 martial practitioners flew away. They had come out of the headquarters in a grandiose manner, but they had to go back without doing anything. Just the travel expenses alone were probably more than 100,000 profound stones. It's over, it's over. Xiao Baisho leaned weakly against a pillar outside the hall and said on the verge of collapse. We've offended the Boundary Hall. Pfft. Suddenly, the Supreme Elder standing in front of him spat out blood, his face extremely pale. In the end, he staggered to the ground and said weakly, That girl is definitely in the truth-seeking realm. Chapter 1529. When Jun Changshao came to cause trouble, the Supreme Elder had already discovered him. But he did not come out of seclusion. Because the 8 tall and strong martial artists were too unusual, he might be tortured if he went out. It was fine. The sect had the honor badge. That guy might not dare to do it for real. To be honest, when he saw Qiao Baisho hesitating to crush the badge, the Supreme Elder who was hiding in the dark became anxious. The other party clearly did not come with good intentions. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and summon people. Fortunately, Jun Changshao took the initiative and crushed Qiao Baisho's badge, allowing the Supreme Elder to breathe a sigh of relief. With Jia Hall's help, the sect would be safe, and I would not have to come out of seclusion to face these 8 unfathomable experts. This plan was as stable as an old dog. But he did not expect that Jia Hall would send people over so quickly and send them flying, not even being able to enter the sect. As expected, the 8 tall and strong men were very strong. Just as the Supreme Elder was secretly rejoicing, Jun Changshao ordered Yao Minjing to destroy the badge. This made him unable to hide any longer. He had to go out and defend the sect's honor and dignity. 8 tall and strong men could not win. But could they not win against a woman? Yao Minjing did attack earlier, but the elders who were sent flying were only rank 1 or rank 2, so the Supreme Elder did not take it to heart. But the truth, the woman who looked weak in his eyes was actually a genuine truth-seeking expert. In terms of demonic chi purity, she was even higher than Ghost 8 generals. After all, she had a complete innate sacred devil body. Boom! The two exchanged blows. From the way the Supreme Elder retreated, he was obviously at a disadvantage. No, he was pretending. He was frantically suppressing it because his organs were heavily injured. Heavens! A girl who looked to be in her 20s had such terrifying strength. The pain in his brain made the Supreme Elder sober up, and he instantly realized that since the sect of all times dared to cause trouble and attack Jia Hall, they were definitely fearless. My Imperial Sword Mystic sect is in danger. No, I must admit defeat. So when Jun Changshao casually offered 1 billion, he agreed without hesitation. The current situation was definitely a huge crisis for the sect. No matter how much money they had to spend, they had to send this plague away. In a common plot, the older generation expert would definitely come out to give the main character a slap in the face. However, when the Grand Elder saw that things were not going well, he immediately admitted defeat. This was very clever. But how was he going to explain this to the Jia Hall that had come from afar to help? The readers at the scene can testify that the token was crushed by Jun Changshao. It has nothing to do with the mysterious sword sect. Of course. Even if they were the ones who had crushed it, the Grand Supreme Elder would still have tried to resolve the conflict with the sect of all times, even at the cost of offending the Jia Hall, because the latter was in existence that they could not afford to offend. It had to be said that the other party had seen through things thoroughly. This also showed that having an elder in the family was like having a treasure. Let's go, let's go. With everyone gone, there was no more excitement. The various martial artists could only leave resentfully. However, although the matter had ended, it made them deeply realize that the sect of all times was awesome. They actually dared to fight with the Jia Hall. And the latter did not even dare to make a sound after being beaten up. Especially the 8 tall and strong martial artists hanging above the sect. Although it was difficult to see their cultivation level, just by standing there, they felt like insurmountable mountains. The sect of all times has many experts. No wonder they dared to cause trouble for a Xian-ranked sect. In my opinion, the Jia Hall was also afraid of the 8 martial artists, so they did not dare to make a sound after being beaten up. If I didn't see it with my own eyes, it would be hard to believe that a secluded sect that had just ascended 3 or 4 years ago dared to go against the Jia Hall. Secluded sect? Just by making the mysterious sword sect spend money, this sect of all times is probably qualified to be called a Xian-ranked sect, or even higher. This incident gave the various martial artists a new understanding of the sect of all times. However, without the recognition of a professional organization, no one's words counted. Only the data panel counted. Whoosh! An hour later, the red light in the sky merged into the clouds. Fuck! It's here again. This direction seems to be the Lingdao sect. Is today a good day to bully a Xian-ranked sect? Wait a minute. I heard that the Lingdao sect and the sect of all times had a grudge before. Could it be? Let's go. Let's go and take a look. In an instant, the martial artists that had dispersed from the mysterious sword sect rushed to the Lingdao sect's boundary without stopping. As expected, when they arrived at the scene, they saw the ancient warship floating above the sect from afar. Their mouths twitched. The patriarch of the sect of all times really seeks revenge for the smallest grievance. Whoosh! Whoosh! Not long after, the people from the Jia Hall came again. It was the same people and the same people. This time, they had learned their lesson. They released their consciousness in advance to observe the situation, and did not rush into the Lingdao sect immediately. It can't be. The person in charge of the Jia Hall saw Jun Changshao sitting on the training field and broke down. Why is it him again? Deacon, the subordinate said. What should we do? What else can we do? The person in charge said. Of course we're going to watch the show. After being cheated by the mysterious sword sect once, he did not plan to stand up. After all, if both sides reached an agreement to compensate, wouldn't he be meddling in other people's business? To be honest, Jun Changshao had ordered Gui Ba to attack the Jia Hall experts who had arrived first. The nature of the situation was very bad. If the situation developed more seriously, Zhenren Tonggu would have to step in. However, if the mysterious sword sect admitted defeat, the problem would be small. The reason Jun Changshao gave was that he was dealing with the Jianghu feud. The parties involved chose to compensate, so the Jia Hall had no reason to interfere. It was not impossible to use the pretext to make a fuss, but the result would not be painful. After all, the sect of all times had Zhenren Tonggu's support. If they said that they were abusing their power and meddling in other people's business, there would be no place to reason. No wonder after suffering a loss, the person in charge could only roar and go home to sleep. They had been played. Too fucking sullen. Lingdao sect. Patriarch Imokain's expression was a little interesting. After crushing the Medal of Honor, the people of the Jia Hall had arrived in time. But why were they all waiting outside to watch the show? Officer Han, Imokain shouted. This guy said that he wants to destroy my Lingdao sect. Coming quickly. The person in charge of the Jia Hall with the surname Han replied. Patriarch Imo will act after he destroys your sect. Imokain almost fainted on the ground. What's the point of me crushing the medallion if you only attack after destroying the sect? Patriarch Imo, Officer Han said telepathically. Don't blame me for being heartless. The main thing is that the mysterious sword sect asked for help earlier. We sent people here, but Patriarch Qiao chose to spend money to settle the matter. This is embarrassing for the Jia Hall. Imokain suddenly understood. So the distress signal was released by the mysterious sword sect. He understood. This guy first targeted Xiao Bailu, and now he was targeting him. He obviously came prepared. Wait. Officer Han just said, spend money to settle the matter? Swish. Suddenly, Imokain's thoughts became very clear. He hurriedly said, Jun Patriarch, my Lingdao sect is willing to use money to resolve the grievances between the two sects. Pfft. Officer Han, who was in the distance, vomited blood. One mysterious sword sect, the other Lingdao sect, crushed the Medal of Honor one after another to ask for help. But in the end the plot was the same. Did they take the Jia Hall as an authoritative organization? Chapter 1530. Deacon Han's words woke Imokain up, and he decided to spend money to settle his grudge with the sect of all times. All right, Jun Changshao agreed. This guy's biggest flaw was that he was greedy for money. When he came, he clearly wanted to teach the High Blade Profound sect a lesson, but when he heard that they were going to pay, he immediately compromised. Sigh. It was better to be lenient where possible. Itue. The system couldn't watch anymore. How about this? Jun Changshao said. I'm not an unreasonable person. The Flying Sword Profound sect paid 1 billion profound stones, so the High Blade Profound sect should pay this amount. He didn't ask for too much. After all, in this line of work there were rules. The corner of Mo Kaien's mouth twitched. June Patriarch, this billion is a bit too much. My sect can't take it out. It's fine. June Changshao pointed at the plaque with the words High Blade Profound Sect, and said, I'll smash this, and you can waive the 900 million. Some readers might add in this chapter, smash it with all your might. However, Mo Kaien wouldn't agree. Because the plaque and the dignity of the same sect were smashed, it was the same as being ruthlessly stepped on in the face. Here, I'll give. Half an hour later, Mo Kaien walked out with a few spatial rings. There were many profound stones inside, but he didn't have a billion. He could only use crystal cores, ores and other items to make up for it. Jun Changshao took it and said, the grudge between our sects is settled. Finished speaking, he led everyone onto the warship and left. However, just as he flew out of the High Blade Profound Sect's mountain, he said loudly, today, the Flying Sword Profound Sect and the High Blade Profound Sect each gave me 1 billion profound stones. From now on, we are allies. Anyone who dares to make things difficult for them is going against the sect of all times. His voice rippled in the sky and could be heard clearly from thousands of miles away. Damn, the system said in shock, a new trick? The conflict between Jun Changshao and the two profound sects wasn't big, but it wasn't small either. Since they were willing to compensate, he definitely had to give them some benefits. As for why he wanted to protect them, it was also inspired by the Medal of Honor. What the Jia Hall can do, the sect of all times can do. What the Jia Hall can't do, the sect of all times can still do. Mo Kaien lay powerlessly in front of the hall. 1 billion profound stones in exchange for a few words that didn't even scratch an itch. It was a huge loss. He circled his thoughts and would test them in the future. Jie. The ancient warship flew out of the High Blade Profound Sect and stopped near Deacon Han. Jun Changshao, who was standing at the bow of the ship, smiled faintly and said, my apologies. You have made a wasted trip again. In my opinion, there is actually no need for your Jia Hall to give out any medals, because you don't have any ability to protect them. Perhaps it was due to his hatred for Jia Tang, but this fellow did not show any mercy when he spoke. Every word was like a knife that stabbed into Attendant Han's heart. Brat, there's still a long way to go. Don't be too arrogant. Deacon Han clenched his fists and said, there is no end to the path of martial arts. No one knows where the end is. Jun Changshao said, everything will gradually disappear in the long river of history and become an inconspicuous speck of dust. Hearing this, all the martial practitioners admired this brat's courage. He actually dared to mock the Jia Hall that would be destroyed one day. How could Deacon Han not understand? He sneered and said, this Han does not wish to see Jun Patriarch become a speck of dust in the long river of history. Don't worry, Jun Changshao said. At least before you. I'm joking. Jun Changshao shrugged and said, the sect still has some internal affairs to take care of, so I will take my leave first. Swoosh. The ancient warship turned into a stream of light and disappeared into the sky. Looking at the afterimages that filled the sky, Deacon Han clenched his fists in anger and said, brat, you better not let anything fall into the hands of my Jia Hall. Otherwise, even Jinren Tonggu won't be able to save you. Ding! Successfully visited the Sword Mystic Sect and the Sharp Blade Mystic Sect, 2 mystic sects. Obtained 1,000 sect reputation points. Ding! Sect reputation points, 1,000. On the way back to the sect, Jun Changshao heard the notification and said in surprise, why did I get reputation points? It's very simple. The system said, the sects need to communicate and interact with each other, so the host's reputation points will naturally increase when you visit them. Is that so? Jun Changxiao's eyes lit up and said, I have to communicate more with the other sects in the future. The system was speechless. What it meant was to bully or extort to make the other party fearful, and thus increase the sect's reputation and prestige. If they did not communicate often, they would definitely become a target of scorn. In the extreme cave, whoosh, Jinren Tonggu suddenly pushed all the chess pieces on the chessboard out. Perfected Qi Yi, who was considering his next move, stood up and roared. Aren't you being too brazen with your shamelessness? Just as he was about to win, he pushed the chessboard out. Who could stand this? Old friend, Jimren Tongu said with a serious expression. I'm feeling uneasy. I'm afraid something big is about to happen. Masato Kitano, who was still angry, quickly became serious and said, could it be the demon ancestor? What's going to happen? I don't know, Jimren Tongu said. I'm getting more and more uneasy. Could it be that your disciple got into some big trouble again? Masato Kitano said. No, Jimren Tongu said with certainty. Last time, when that kid was surrounded by various sects, the ominous omen was not as strong as this time. Masato Kitano fell into deep thought. Jun Changshao stole the eggs of various sects, which caused quite a crisis. The uneasiness this time was even greater than last time, so the problem must be more serious. It must have something to do with the demon ancestor. Whoosh whoosh, whoosh whoosh whoosh. A cold wind blew, and dark clouds gathered. Jimren Tongu and Masato Kitano looked up and said in unison, the world is about to change. In a secluded cultivation place, a graceful figure sat cross-legged on a stone platform, her hair cascading down. Because her back was facing the camera, they couldn't see her face clearly. They could only confirm that it was a woman. Master. An old voice came from outside. At this time, the camera slowly moved to the front. She was a woman in her early 20s. Her beauty could be described as devastatingly beautiful, but it would be a bit of an understatement. Lu Qianqian was also very beautiful, but compared to her, she was a little less interesting. It was mainly in terms of temperament. Hua Rose's appearance and temperament were not inferior to this woman, but the beauty of the two was different, each with their own artistic conception. What is it? Her eyebrows furrowed slightly, which made her look even more beautiful. The voice was familiar. Yes, it was Empress Ling Yao. Because she was in seclusion, the clouds that gathered on her face didn't exist, and her true appearance was finally revealed. TSK, Yi Xingqian's ex-girlfriend. She was really stunning. Master, the hunchbacked old man said, the weather outside is changing. I'm afraid something big is about to happen. Oh, Empress Ling Yao nodded and waved her right hand gently. A formation enchantment appeared on the wall and projected a screen of light. Dark clouds gathered in the sky, as if half of the upper world was shrouded in it. Chapter 1531. Dark clouds covered half of the upper realm, and the atmosphere gradually became somber. Why did the weather suddenly change? In the sect of all times, the disciples who were busy or cultivating looked up at the dark clouds in confusion. Boom! Thunder and lightning shot out, briefly illuminating everything. Jun Changshao walked out of the main hall and said, there's thunder, it's raining. Pack up your clothes. His words reminded the disciples that there were still clothes and blankets in the yard, so they hurried back to pack up. The atmosphere in the sect was completely different from the somber atmosphere. Brother. Gu Zhaoxi walked over and frowned. The situation isn't good. It's just rain, what's so bad about it? It was common for the weather to be abnormal in the world of martial arts. Jun Changshao would not find it strange if snow, hail, or even magnetite were to fall on a sunny day, let alone rain. Gu Zhaoxi said, I can't say. His situation was similar to Jimren Tongu's. He felt uneasy, as if something bad was about to happen. Don't think too much. Jun Changshao patted him on the shoulder and said, wait until the first revolution pill is refined. You must properly help me test the medicine. Gu Zhaoxi asked, is it dangerous? Brother, Jun Changshao said seriously, you have to believe in Hall Master Wei and Hall Master Miao's abilities. Gu Zhaoxi broke down in his heart. The uneasiness in my heart is not because of the weather, but because of the pill? Medicine Hall. Elder Wei shook his head and said, many of the herbs recorded in the pill recipe existed 100,000 years ago. They're extinct now. Can you find a substitute? Jun Changshao asked. There were countless herbs in the world. Perhaps there were some with similar attributes or distant relatives. This, Elder Wei said, it depends on Hall Master Miao. It was not a big problem for him to plant poisonous herbs, but in terms of professionalism, He was definitely not as good as Miao Saifeng, who dealt with poisons. Smack! In the poison refinery hall, thick ancient books were placed on the table. Miao Saifeng crossed her arms and said, "I've found dozens of herbs that can be used as replacements." Professional. Jun Changshao gave him a thumbs up. However, Miao Saifeng said seriously, the toxicity of these herbs is too strong. If you combine them into a pill, you will definitely die on the spot. When she said this, Gu Zhaoxi, who had just returned to his residence, couldn't help but shiver. He thought to himself, that feeling of uneasiness is getting stronger. You'll die if you take it when you're in a higher realm? Yes. Jun Changshao rubbed his chin and said, even if it can't be used to increase the cultivation level of the disciples, it can be used as poison. When facing an enemy, Goxing didn't care about his methods. Of course, if the pills formed at the first rotation speed were to turn into poison, the powerhouses would definitely not be foolish enough to eat them. Thus, they still hoped that they could use them to increase their cultivation level. This was a technical problem that would take time to study. For example, to make Diablo be controlled by the soul, it would also require absolute technique to improve. In the array hall, the Taishian old man grabbed his hair and roared, "My head is about to explode." Sigh. Zhen Dejuan shook his head helplessly. As a technical staff in the collaborative research, if it weren't for the hair growth agent, his hair would have fallen out from overusing his brain. Grand Elder, Shangguan Xinyao said, since the patriarch said that the soul-tempering sacred celestial art can make the soul out of the body, why don't we wait for someone to succeed before improving it? That's right. The Taishian old man slapped his forehead and said, why didn't I think of that? He was now completely relying on his intuition. If someone could achieve the soul out of the body and cooperate with the research, they would definitely be able to find the key point. Jun Changshao had already distributed the soul-tempering sacred celestial art. The disciples were all working hard to cultivate it, but this kind of soul-strengthening martial art was more profound. It would also take time to comprehend it. In the room, Yiwudi sat cross-legged on the bed and successfully cultivated the soul-tempering sacred celestial art. He had been cultivating this martial art for a few days. Every time he comprehended something, it was as if he had opened the door to a new world. It wasn't that he hadn't cultivated a soul-type mental cultivation technique before, but it couldn't be compared to the soul-tempering sacred celestial art. Therefore, he firmly believed that it must be related to the seven profound sage. Yi Xingchen was also cultivating. This mental cultivation technique strengthened the soul. Therefore, he wasn't the only one benefiting. Anyo's soul, which was hidden in the deepest part, also benefited. Of course, Jun Changshao would also cultivate the soul-tempering sacred celestial art after he was done with the Sect's affairs. After all, his current realm was more focused on the soul. Otherwise, even if he fought with his physical body, he might be affected by the true spirit force. Hua hua. It started to rain outside. The rain wasn't heavy, but it would last for a few days. More and more dark clouds floated over from afar. It was as if there were thousands of soldiers and horses. Most of the disciples chose to cultivate indoors or busy themselves. Therefore, the sect of all times seemed especially peaceful. Swish! In the dark environment, a pair of eyes suddenly opened. They were filled with endless anger and killing intent. A low and gloomy voice sounded. Since that girl is a disciple of the sect of all times, this great one will make this sect cease to exist. Who is this? The demon ancestor who had just revived. His demonic body had been stolen by a girl. Even if he was in seclusion to recuperate, he still couldn't swallow this anger. Therefore, he had to snatch it back. He had already signed an eternal contract. How could he snatch it back? It was very simple. As long as that girl died, the physique would enter an ownerless state. As the previous owner, he could easily inherit it. Listen to my orders. The demon ancestor said coldly, spread the news. Yes. The 4 black-robed elders received the order and left the secret room. The top 10 immortal sects should be very wary of this ancestor's connate sacred demonic body. If they know that a girl obtained it, they will definitely think of ways to kill her. Kakik. In the outside world, dark clouds still shrouded half of the upper domain. Old friend, Jimrin Tonggu, who was standing in the cave abode, said with a serious expression, "The feeling of unease is getting stronger." Masato Kitano broke down. "What kind of disaster is going to happen? You've been on tenterhooks for so many days." Pucci. Pucci. At that moment a crane flew over. It shook off the rainwater on its body and transmitted the information to its master. "This is bad." Masato Kitano's expression changed drastically. "Something big has happened." Jimrin Tonggu's heart skipped a beat. "What happened?" "A disciple in your disciple's sect has obtained the Khanate sacred demonic body. The entire upper domain is talking about it now." Ah! Jimrin Tonggu's eyes widened. Then he clutched his chest and said, "The strong unease these days is because of that guy. 100,000 years ago, the demon ancestor relied on the Khanate sacred demonic body to fight the top 10 immortal sections. Now that this physique has reappeared, they will definitely not tolerate its existence. I'm afraid." "Hey, where are you going?" "Nonsense. Of course, I'm going to the sect of all times." Whoosh! Jimrin Tonggu had already flown out of the cave abode. Masato Kitano hurriedly followed him. At the same time, he did not forget to contact his friends. After all, once the top 10 immortal sects received the news, they would definitely send their troops to Fengqi Immortal Mountain. The situation would definitely be much more serious than before. Chapter 1532. 100,000 years ago, the demon ancestor and the powerhouses of the 10 major celestial sects fought in the West Sea for a few days and nights. The entire process could be described as earth-shattering and earth-shattering. This was definitely the most classic battle since ancient times. It was even labeled as the most powerful battle by historians. Of course, the demon ancestor was able to fight 1 against 10 because of his Khanate sacred demon body. There were countless physiques in the upper world, but there were no detailed records of this physique. It seemed to have appeared out of nowhere. After the demon ancestor fell, the Khanate sacred demon body disappeared from the world. It had not been inherited by anyone until today. There were rumors that if anyone could inherit this physique, they could reach the demon ancestor's height. They could even step into the 3rd step and achieve the supreme divine secret state. Rumors were just rumors. Martial artists usually did not take them to heart. Moreover, it had been so long that they had long forgotten about it. Although it was mentioned occasionally, it was just a topic of conversation. But who would have thought that in just one day, the news of a disciple of the sect of all times inheriting the Khanate sacred demon body spread throughout the upper world? Martial artists from all walks of life began to discuss it. "I heard that it's the most complete one. The appearance of such a physique might mean a disaster." In 100,000 years, martial artists from the upper world had already regarded the demonic tribe as the absolute villain. Anything related to them would be seen as a jinx. The Jia Hall will probably take action. The sect of all times is probably going to be in trouble. Not necessarily. As long as they hand over the disciple with the Khanate sacred demon body, the Jia Hall should not make things difficult for them. After all, they have Jimrin Tonggu's support. They really can't take in disciples randomly. Otherwise, it will easily bring disaster to the sect. In the inn's dining hall, martial artists from all walks of life were discussing. Whoosh! A middle-aged man sitting in the corner stood up and put on a white windbreaker. He carried the stone coffin beside him and walked out muttering, "Holidays are always short." "Ryu Sinan!" everyone exclaimed. At first, they were puzzled as to why this person brought a coffin in. It was not until they saw his signature outfit that they realized that he was one of the 3 demon exterminators of the Jia Hall. Step. Ryu Sinan walked out of the inn, scratched his messy hair and asked, "Where is the Phoenix Perch Immortal Mountain?" After the news of the innate Saint Devil body spread, he did not receive any notice from the Jia Hall. However, as a demon exterminator, he had to rush over as soon as possible because disciples with this body type were extremely dangerous. Schwa. He casually grabbed a passerby and asked, "Brother, where is the Phoenix Perch Immortal Mountain?" Say, Southeast. Thanks. Ryu Sinan carried the sarcophagus and left. The martial artist who was leading the way broke down and said, "Brother, you're going in the wrong direction." The entire upper realm was talking about the innate Saint Devil body. Naturally, the Drizzle Hall's intelligence agency was the first to receive the news and sent it to the sect. It's over, it's over. Gu Zhaoxi paced back and forth in the hall, his face full of worry. If news of Yao Menjing inheriting the demon body were to spread in the upper realm, it would inevitably bring about a great crisis. No wonder he had been feeling ill at ease all this time. Stop spinning, Jun Changxiao said. My head is spinning. Brother. Gu Zhaoxi stopped and broke down. The news has spread throughout the upper realm. The 10 great immortal sects will definitely know. When the time comes, they will definitely send experts to kill us. Why aren't you worried at all? If I'm worried, if it can solve the problem, the two of us can wander down there together, Jun Changxiao said. No, Gu Zhaoxi said. Brother, let's hurry up and run. If it was just attracting the realm hall's people, it wouldn't be too big of a problem. However, the 10 great immortal sects were not to be trifled with. If they really came, it would definitely be over. Run. Jun Changxiao shook his head and said, Brother, you've been in the sect for so long. Don't you know the first principle of the sect of all times? Gu Zhaoxi hurriedly took out a small notebook and flipped through the first principle recorded in it. My brother, our sect has a lot of first principles. Which one are you talking about? Qingyang. Jun Changxiao said. Tell your uncle what the first principle is. Li Qingyang said loudly. Be a man of iron and unyielding character. And do things of iron and unyielding character. Gu Zhaoxi immediately understood. His brother was not planning to run. He was planning to face the coming storm. Okay, then let's fight them. Although their tone sounded bold, their bodies were honestly drooping. After all, when they thought about the 10 great immortal sects, they felt that they had no chance of winning. Everyone in the sect, listen up. Jun Changxiao walked out of the main hall and said loudly, Enter the first level of alert. Yes. The voices of the disciples were filled with unyielding power. Instantly, the dark clouds that had gathered above the sect for many days were shaken away. Whoosh, whoosh. On the War Night Peak, a large number of disciples quickly rushed out of their residences and entered the cockpit of the Diablo. They were successfully activated and ready to fight at any time. Buzz. Outside the sect, the various formations that were usually hidden in the dark gradually appeared. These were all set up by the formation hall. After the Taishian Elder added in, they had extremely high defense and destructive power. They could be called the second line of defense. The various peaks and halls all entered battle mode. Lu Qianqian, Xiao Ziji, and the other core disciples, whether they were in seclusion or training in the secret realm, all walked out and gathered at the main peak. The sect of all times was like a sleeping lion under the dark clouds. Now, after Jun Changxiao's order, not only did it wake up, but it also stood up with its head held high. Once the eastern lion woke up, the entire world would tremble. Patriarch, Shui Rengui said, Diablo has been fully activated. Patriarch, Zhen Dijuan said, all the formations of the ancient celestial mountain have been activated. Jun Changxiao sat outside the main hall with the great sage robe draped over his body. He looked at the disciples who were waiting solemnly on the training field. He originally wanted to give a speech, but he felt that it was a bit cliché. So he clenched his fist and shouted, Ollie! 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 Although the disciples didn't know what this sentence meant, since it came from the patriarch, there must be some meaning. So they followed suit. Patriarch! Yao Menjing walked over with her head lowered and said, Did I implicate the sect? She already knew that the news of her connate holy demon body had spread in the upper realm. The sect would definitely be targeted by the major sects, so she blamed herself. Girl. Rows of flowers appeared behind Yao Menjing and put a hand on her shoulder. She smiled and said, Some things are destined to happen. Don't shoulder all the problems on your own. TSK. Jun Changxiao turned his head. He originally wanted to enlighten Yao Menjing, but this woman beat him to it. Masteress, no matter what happens, everyone will be with you. Rose of Flowers looked at Jun Changshao and said, "Am I right, husband?" Jun Changshao turned his face to one side, but he still made a sound from his nostrils. His arrogance was even more serious than Yi Xingqian's. Buzz! Buzz! Suddenly, the various formations of the second line of defense suddenly stopped operating. Then, the Sect protecting formation of the first line of defense also dissipated. Boom! A black shadow fell to the ground, and a monstrous anger roared out. "Master!" Jun Changshao said happily. Gu Zhaoxi and the black and white Rakshasa heaved a sigh of relief. With this top powerhouse, they should be much safer. Swish! At this moment, Zhenren Tonggu rushed over and roared uncontrollably. "What sins did I commit in my past life to have a disciple like you?" Masato Kitano, who rushed over, hurriedly hugged him and pulled him back. He said in a mediating tone, calm down. "Master." Jun Changshao wiped the spittle off his face and broke down. "I didn't cause any trouble." Chapter 1533. Although Jun Changshao had gone to settle scores with two Xian sects, and had some unhappiness with the Realm Hall, he did not provoke any trouble this time. In fact, he had accidentally saved the world. If Yao Menjing had not obtained the innate holy demonic body, she would have been able to enter the demonic region at will. Putting aside the fact that Jun Changshao was not a villain, the demonic tribe was already hostile to the entire world. If he had control of the million-strong army, it would definitely cause a bloodbath. "No, I saved the world. What right do you have to target me?" Jun Changshao suddenly realized this. The unspeakable bitterness in his heart suddenly intensified. There was no choice. No one knew that he had saved the world. Even if he told the entire world what had happened, he would probably be seen as crazy. Sigh. Zhenren Tonggu had been angry. He calmed down and let out a long sigh. He had been forced to accept him as a disciple for the promise of 10 years. In the end, he had caused so much trouble time and time again. It was too difficult for him to be his master. "Master!" Jun Changshao suddenly became serious and said, "This is my disciple's matter. I will deal with it myself. I won't implicate you and Senior Qi." Damn it! It was just the 10 major celestial sects. If they really came to the sect of all times to cause trouble, he would fight them to the end. Whoever was afraid was a coward. Jun Changshao dared to think this way because of the 4 generations of unstoppable blade, the great sage Sect, and the million-strong demonic army. Although they might not be able to defeat the 10 major celestial sects, they would have to pay a price if they wanted to deal with the sect of all times. Zhenren Tonggu glared at him and said, "If I had stayed out of this, I would not have come all the way here." The main reason was that Go Sheng had caused another big trouble, which made him unable to control his emotions. In fact, he had come today to support him. If he dared to go head-on with the various races, why not go head-on with the 10 major celestial sects? Taoist Tong Gu could be considered to have done his best. Swish! Swish! Outside the timeless immortal mountain, streams of light flew over rapidly, landing on the sect's main peak where the defense system had temporarily lost its effect. The newcomers were Zhenren Tonggu and Masato Kitano's group of friends. There were the 7 sages of ethereal, leisure, and many unfamiliar faces. This time, there were more rogue cultivators than last time. It could be seen that the 10 major immortal sects were more dangerous than the other clans. Tonggu Air, a chubby old man said, "The problem is very serious. The appearance of the innate Saint Devil body may threaten the entire upper world. Are you sure you want to protect it, even if it means going against the 10 great immortal sects?" asked an elegant middle-aged man. There was nothing wrong with a master protecting his disciple. However, the 10 great immortal sects experts slaughtering their way over could be considered to have a good reason. After all, the demonic body belonged to the demonic ancestor back then. No one knew if the inheritor would walk on his path in the future and bring disaster to the entire higher realms. If we protect him today, won't we be helping the tyrant if anything happens in the future? Their considerations were not without reason. After all, no one could be sure if the possessor of the demonic body could walk on the right path in the future. If he did something unpardonable, what he did today would make him a sinner of the upper world. Masato Kitano was silent. He had always considered the problem from his old friend's point of view. That was why he made the call to ask for help. But he ignored the risks that existed in the possessor of the demonic body. At this time, if ordinary people were to choose, they would also stand on the side of the 10 major immortal sects, because no one could guarantee that the possessor of the demonic body was a good person. Dear seniors, Jun Changshao cupped his hands and said, the innate Saint Devil body has been inherited by my disciple. I can swear to the heavens that I will never do anything outrageous or inhumane. Kid, the chubby old man said, no one can guarantee what will happen in the future. If you want to help, then stay. If you find it troublesome, then leave. Jimren Tonggu said impatiently, we'll talk about the future in the future. Why are you talking so much nonsense? Jun Changshao was immediately moved. To be honest, he was not sure whether Yao Minjing would become an unpardonable witch in the future. However, his master's unconditional support was the greatest trust he had in him. How many years has it been? His bad temper hasn't changed at all. The chubby old man roared. The others shook their heads. Although Jimren Tonggu's words were unpleasant, they did not turn around and leave. After all, they had known each other for so many years. Did they not appreciate this weakness? Everyone, Masato Kitano said, the demonic body in the demon ancestor's body will be a threat to the upper realm. But in this girl's body, it might save the world. That's why I'm willing to believe in Jun Patriarch. Since he was a good friend, he had to support him. Sigh. The elegant middle-aged man shook his head and said, I knew it. These two old guys play chess every day. Sooner or later, their brains will go bad together. Forget it, forget it. The chubby old man said, we'll go crazy with them. The rogue cultivators who came to help turned around and protected Jun Changshao and the other young people like an iron wall. Their eyes flashed with a crazy luster. The 10 great immortal sects would definitely not let go of the demonic body. Since they chose to stay, they were already prepared to fight head-on. To be honest, it was a little exciting. Jun Changshao cupped his hands and said seriously, today my sect is in trouble. I'll never forget the fact that all of you came to help. I'll repay you in the future. Pa! Li Tiantian stood in the distance and crazily pressed the camera button. There were too many people who came. It was a little difficult to remember all of them, so the best way was to take their photos. This was really unforgettable. Whoosh whoosh. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. At this moment, a powerful aura suddenly appeared outside the Aeon Immortal Mountain, causing the rogue cultivators who came to help to look serious. The people from the 10 great immortal sects were here. Whoosh. Whoosh. Sure enough, the moment the pressure came, streams of light dragged the light and hung in the air outside the mountain gate, revealing many old men with deep eyes and sage-like demeanor. Gu Zhaoxi's expression was a little interesting. There were only 10 people, but the aura emitted by each of them was not inferior to Senior Tonggu. Their strength was definitely at the peak of the truth-seeking realm. Wasn't it just the connate holy demon body? Was there a need for such a big lineup? Fuck. Jun Changshao cursed in his heart. Although he was prepared for battle, the 10 great immortal sects had directly sent 10 peak truth-seeking realm cultivators. If it weren't for his master in front of him, he would probably be panicking now. Under absolute power, the aura suppression was very strong. Jinren Tonggu, the powerhouse from the Lingtian immortal sect, said indifferently, your disciple's sect has an inheritor of the connate holy demon body. For the sake of the world's safety, you should hurry up and ask him to hand it over. The people who came were all experienced. Seeing so many people standing in front of the sect of all time's main hall, it was obvious that they were going to protect them, so they went straight to the point. What if you don't hand it over? Jinren Tonggu said. An immortal sect powerhouse sneered. If you don't hand it over, you'll end up like the demonic territory, 100,000 years ago. As one of the top 10 immortal level sects in the upper realm, his words were even more arrogant and domineering than Jun Changxiao's VIP account. Whoosh! Whoosh! At this moment, the powerhouses of the 10 great immortal sects flew over one after another. To be able to arrive the fastest, their cultivation levels were either at the truth-seeking realm or at the peak of the core transformation realm. Whoosh, whoosh whoosh. Every time an immortal sect powerhouse arrived, the powerful aura gathered in the Aeon Immortal Mountain would increase by a bit. The murderous aura and true spirit suppression also became more and more obvious. Yao Menjing, who was standing behind the patriarch, felt a stabbing pain in her heart. This scene was extremely familiar. Wasn't it the nightmare she had back then? Chapter 1534. When she was in the lower realm, Yao Menjing had a dream. Please refer back to chapter 476, so she won't take the opportunity to kill the memories here. Of course, although this dream was similar to the scene that appeared now, there were actually differences. For example, in the dream, she was an iron bone, and now she was in the sect of all times. For example, in the dream, she was in the falling star continent, and now she was in the upper realm. The reason why Yao Menjing felt familiar was because she had caused the sect to be in danger. I'm sorry. She lowered her head, and tears flowed out uncontrollably, especially when she recalled the dream where her fellow sect members fell into a pool of blood to protect her. The stabbing pain in her heart was even more intense. Girl. Rose of Flowers walked over and said telepathically, "Don't let your imagination run wild." Jun Changshao put all his attention on the powerhouses of the 10 major celestial sects that appeared one after another, and she had been paying attention to Yao Menjing. Although she did not know that she had a nightmare, she still cared about her in time. If Go Sheng was compared to the head of a family, then she was a competent mother of a family. She could even handle some things better than the former. To put it bluntly, the male was in charge of external affairs, and the female was in charge of internal affairs. The division of labor was clear. Mistress, Yao Menjing choked and said, "I don't want to implicate the sect. I don't want anyone to be hurt." She had already taken the dream seriously, and was afraid that the scene in the dream would appear again. Some things won't happen just because you don't want to, Rose of Flowers said. Since it has happened, you have to face it bravely. The patriarch and your fellow sect members are all by your side. Yao Menjing glanced at Jun Changshao, who was not afraid, and then looked at her senior brothers and sisters who were not afraid. So she raised her hand to wipe the tears on her face, and her eyes gradually became firm. In this crisis, the one who was deeply affected was Yi Xingchen. In his previous life, he fought alone without companions or friends, only a girlfriend, and in the end he was stabbed. Jun Changshao, a powerhouse from the celestial sect, said coldly, "As long as you hand over the witch behind you, we will let your sect of all times go on account of Jinren Tonggu. All of you listen up." Jun Changshao's eyes were cold and sharp, and he said, "As long as you enter the sect of all times, no matter if you are evil or unpardonable, you will be safe and sound." Although these words were a bit extreme, it represented Gosheng's firm attitude. Hand over the disciples? Dream on. The powerhouses from the 10 major celestial sects, the heavens and the heavens, celestial heavens, and protected a cultivator, who would be a threat to the celestial 9 celestial heavens, Taoist Tonggu. The powerhouse from the Ling Tian celestial sect said coldly, "Is this your idea or your disciples? Jinren Lin or not?" Jinren, the 10 great immortal sects did not put the eternal sect in their eyes, nor did they put Jun Changshao in their eyes. However, Taoist Tonggu was, after all, a top expert who had been famous for a long time, so if they wanted to negotiate, they had to find him. In short, without Masato Kitano and the other powerful sectless cultivators, they would have attacked long ago. As one of the 10 major sects that created the sect of all times, there was no room for negotiation. Jinren Tonggu knew how domineering they were, so he said calmly, "My disciple says my." The disciple was just. The master was also just. They would not enter the same sect if they were not a family. The powerhouse from the Heaven's High Celestial Sect was not surprised by this answer. He then looked at Masato Kitano and the other sectless cultivators and said, "Jinren Tonggu's is your..." "That's right. Their friends who came to help said in unison. They did not leave when they were asked to. Therefore, they had to protect Yao Minjing and the sect of all times today. To be honest, they were both excited and nervous. After all, no one dared to go against the 10 major celestial sects after the demonic tribe was destroyed. If a war broke out, it would definitely leave a mark in history. The demonic ancestor had the ambition to dominate the upper realm. If our ancestors did not work together to kill him, the upper realm would have been destroyed. Now you want to protect a witch? This is intolerable. The powerhouse from the heavens high celestial sect scolded angrily. Damn it! Jun Changshao shouted. My disciple has never hurt the innocent when she's cultivating in the sect. She has never done anything evil. What makes you think she's a witch? Don't fucking talk about the future. Who the fuck knows what will happen in the future? Go Sheng could not control his emotions and cursed continuously. He was really angry. Just because a person with a special constitution was an evil person, the successor would be labeled the same? Who gave you the right to define good and evil based on your feelings? There will always be a bunch of pedantic bastards in this world. Because of their persecutory delusions, martial artists who should be walking towards the light can only choose to walk towards the darkness. I, Jun Changshao, don't know what happened 100,000 years ago. But even if the demonic ancestor is an evil person, there must be a reason for it. Maybe it's because you bunch of sanctimonious people have gone too far and forced him to arm himself and resist. If the demonic ancestor, who was recuperating, heard Jun Changxiao's words, he would definitely step forward and shake his hand. Brother, you know me, Jinren Tonggu sneered. Rumor has it that martial artists with the innate saint demonic body can peek into the divine mystery stage. Some people are worried about their status in the future, so they don't allow it to exist. Bullshit. The powerhouse from the heavens high celestial sect shouted angrily. We're doing this for the world. It was hard to tell who was right and who was wrong. However, the problem was Yao Minjing's demonic body. She did not do anything evil, nor did she hurt the innocent. It was reasonable for Jun Changshao to choose to resist. Cut the crap. Another powerhouse from another celestial sect said coldly. Anyone who protects the demonic girl today will be seen as a traitor. The 10 major celestial sects have the right to kill them. Huff huff. Huff huff huff. The hundreds of powerhouses from the 10 major celestial sects, gathered outside the mountain gate, unleashed their cultivation at the same time. The murderous aura suddenly became unprecedentedly strong. Jinren Tonggu's long robe fluttered without wind. His eyes were sharp as he said, since the birth of the upper realm, hundreds of flowers have bloomed. What right do the 10 major celestial sects have to establish a realm hall and look down on the world as rulers? Many people had wanted to say this for a long time, but they did not have the courage. Now that they had fallen out with the 10 major celestial sects, how could they not say it out loud? Jinren Tonggu, Masato Katano, and other itinerant cultivators disregarded the safety of the world and protected the inheritor of the innate saint demonic body. Today, the 10 major celestial sects will enforce justice on behalf of the heavens. Everyone listen up. Eliminate the sect of all times. Yes. Huff huff. Huff huff huff. The powerhouses from the 10 major celestial sects, who had unleashed their cultivation, immediately gathered the power of their true spirits and formed dazzling palm prints that pressed down on the sect of all times. The power gathered by the truth-seeking realm and the peak of the revolving core realm was very powerful. The pressure formed caused the air to distort. Jun Changxiao's expression changed slightly. At this moment, the sect protection array was in a state of paralysis because of his master's arrival. Even if it was activated normally, it would be impossible to resist this power. He had underestimated the 10 major celestial sects. Buzz! Buzz! At this moment, the ethereal 7 sages stood in different positions with mysterious steps and instantly formed a solid defense array in the air. Boom 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 boom. All kinds of power from the 10 major celestial sects bombarded the array like cannonballs, but it did not shake. Swish! Swish! Jinren Tonggu and the others flew out and locked onto the top powerhouses of the 10 major celestial sects. You itinerant cultivators can't fight against us. The powerhouse from the Lingtian celestial sect sneered. What if you count me in? Suddenly, a voice came from outside the Aeon celestial mountain. Perfected Qing Wei flew over with a disdainful look on her face. Why is she here? Jimren Tonggu and Masato Katana were surprised. Suddenly, a strange laughter came from another direction. Tongguer, your disciple and my disciple have not fought in 10 years. I can't let him die here. Whoosh. Gu Hong Jimren gradually appeared in the air with a sinister smile on his face. The powerhouses of the 10 major celestial sects frowned. These 2 itinerant cultivators were also going to stand up for the sect of all times? Swish! Swish! At this moment, the sound of wind whistling came from behind. The powerhouses of the various clans led by the Thunder Rhombus race and the Ice Phoenix race flew over rapidly. The scene was spectacular. The powerhouse from the Lingtian celestial sect laughed. Back then, all the clans had participated in the destruction of the demonic race. Now that the Khanate sacred demon body was inherited by someone else, they must be here to help. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.